Chapter 404. If a human took it, their blood would burn like fire and their organs would turn into blood. Not even a transcendent grandmaster or an immortal state cultivator would be able to cure it. Both the dragon-snaring lasso and the 5 poison heart-burning tea were extremely powerful. Not even the great sword god of the Cherry Blossom Society would be able to stop them. The Qin family's business interests are all in Japan and they even have shares in the Mitsui Group. Qin Shuejiao is in charge of the Condor unit and she's one of us. Ishii Yurin cracked a smirk and said. She notified the Cherry Blossom Society as soon as she knew that Kang Taechu was involved. Mr. Ampere Yashihira spent a lot of effort to persuade the leaders of the Cherry Blossom Society to send the dragon-snaring lasso and the 5 poison heart-burning tea to Huaxia for Qin Shuejiao to kill Kang Taechu. As soon as he said that, the entire place was in an uproar. Many of the Japanese powerhouses present were celebrating, cheering, and beaming with joy. This is great. Even if Kang Taechu is an immortal state warrior, he won't be able to use any of his power under the effects of the dragon-snaring lasso and the 5 poison heart-burning tea. Wouldn't killing him be as easy as taking something out of your pocket? Bah! Huaxia is an inferior race. How can there be a real immortal state warrior? He is at most half an immortal state warrior. Huaxia is just bluffing. I don't care what level he is at. He is dead for sure. I will give him a taste of my blade first. Hee, Kang Taechu is so arrogant. He dares to go against us and destroy 6 battleships. However, he didn't know that the Condor team and our Japanese Cherry Blossom Society are working together. Now that there's a fire in his backyard, he has to take drastic measures. The many Japanese ninjas, kendo experts, and onmyoges who were originally quite wary of Jiang Tian instantly became excited. They rubbed their fists and were eager to give it a try. They were eager to kill Kang Taechu as if he was a fish on a chopping board. Qin Shuejiao is very efficient. We must give them more benefits. Hattori Hanzo nodded and smiled. Yes, Nomiya Shrine and the Japanese Cherry Blossom Society will have to support the Condor team in the future. If the Condor team can replace the Huaxialong formation, then we will have one less huge threat. We will be able to enter Huaxia as if there is no one there. Nagaki Miyamoto's eyes flashed with a chilling light as he nodded in agreement. Condor team, Dove faction. Huaxialong formation, Eagle faction. Of course, the Dove faction had the final say in an enemy country. Nomiya Shrine Ampere Kihei-sama's instructions are, Ishii Yulian said coldly, let our ships head south and meet Qin Shuejiao's ships on the high seas, and take over Kang Taechu. Her beautiful face was stern and her phoenix eyes were cold. She said word by word, to avoid any unexpected changes, execute Kang Taechu on the high seas. Kill Kang Taechu and raise the prestige of our country. Kill Kang Taechu and raise the prestige of our country. For a moment, the blood of many Japanese experts was boiling. They pulled out their katanas and shouted at the top of their lungs. The prestige of our country. The name of your Condor team's ship is really funny. When the helicopter flew to a ship, Jiang Tian saw a few big words on the hull of the ship and couldn't help but laugh. Qin Zongheng's face turned red, and then he said seriously, Master Kang, the Condor team has always regarded the Japanese Cherry Blossom Society as our mortal enemy, and we also want to kill them. However, everything needs to be done with strategy. Now is not the time to start a war with the Cherry Blossom Society. Wait until when? With your strategy, the so-called hiding your strength is meaningless. Jiang Tian sipped his tea calmly and sneered, you are improving your strength, but others are also improving their strength. This is a war of attrition, a protracted war. The best time to start a war was 10 years ago, 100 years ago. If we haven't started a war before, the best time to start a war is now. Even if we suffer heavy losses, we can't let them live peacefully. Even if we lose 800 of our own men, we have to injure 1,000 of our enemies. Look, the Cherry Blossom Society has been snatching cultivation resources in Huaxia for so many years. How deep is their foundation? And when did the Condor team go to Japan to snatch cultivation resources? Qin Zongheng's face froze, and he said anxiously, the Cherry Blossom Society has 4 major shrines and 12 shikigami. Most of these shikigami originated from the Heian era, and they have hundreds of years of history. They absorb the power of faith of the people every day and cultivate a huge amount of soul energy. They have unfathomable abilities, and even immortal state experts are no match for them. He asked in a hoarse voice, do you think you can kill them? Isn't it a hopeless situation for us to set foot in Japan? We have to conserve our energy. Oh, wait 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. Will these shikigami die? Jiang Tian sipped his tea and sneered, no, their soul energy will only grow stronger. You are a senior member of the Condor team, and you have a broad vision and experience. You should know that the competition in the cultivation world is actually a competition for cultivation resources. Then, you should be robbing and snatching, instead of hiding in China and wasting your resources. Don't think about splitting the cake, you should think about how to make it bigger. I can't explain it to you. Qin Zongheng's body trembled and his face paled after hearing what Qin Fan said. But he didn't say anything else. He just frowned and looked at the national prestige that was getting bigger and bigger outside the cabin. Jiang Tian didn't know that Qin Zongheng's heart was already in turmoil. Jiang Tian and Bai Dicheng, the leader of the Condor team, had completely different views. It could be said that they ran in opposite directions. He felt that Jiang Tian's words were outrageous, but after thinking about it, Jiang Tian's point made a lot of sense. Is Lord Bai wrong? The moment this thought came to Qin Zongheng's mind, he was shocked. How could he have such thoughts? How could he question Lord Bai's authority? He was the most popular young master in Yanjin and the spiritual leader of many young masters. He was also the personal disciple of the sect leader of the Mount Shu Sword sect. He was only 32 years old, but he had already reached the peak of the transcendent state. Even Yi Zhantian wasn't as powerful and domineering as he was. In Qin Zongheng's mind, Bai Dicheng was like a god. And yet, he started to doubt Bai Dicheng's point of view just because of a few words from Jiang Tian. It was dangerous to think like that. He couldn't talk to Kong Teichu anymore. Master Kong, we need to tie your hands. Please cooperate. Chen Shuejiao took out a 10-meter-long silver rope from her backpack and said with a cold frown. Is that necessary? Are you really treating me as a prisoner? When Jiang Tian saw this rope, his heart skipped a beat as he spoke unhurriedly. It's just a procedure. The other party also asked for it. Only by handing you over to the Japanese will the other party be satisfied and not make things difficult for Huaxia. I hope Master Kong will cooperate. Chen Shuejiao sneered arrogantly. She provoked Jiang Tian again. Master Kong is powerful and his martial arts are amazing. He can break steel with his hands and penetrate stone with his fingers. Are you afraid of a mere rope? Don't you dare mock me. This tea should be the heart-burning 5-poison tea. Of course, it might have other names. Jiang Tian swirled the teacup and said with a smile, but in short, it's made from bone-corroding vermilion toad, een snake, soul-breaking grass, crimson crown red lotus, and heart-piercing lotus, these 5 types of extremely poisonous plants, plus over 30 types of heavy metals, evil, and filthy things, and after being steamed and dried for a long time, it can burn a martial artist's blood essence and burn their internal organs. Isn't this tea enough? You know that this tea is poisonous, yet you still drink it. Qin Zongheng and the other experts of the Condor team were instantly on guard. They looked at Jiang Tian, waiting for Jiang Tian to resist. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered with them. He took another sip of the tea and said indifferently, it's not bad. Chen Shuejiao's pretty face was deathly pale, but she gritted her teeth and approached with the rope. She smiled and said, Grandmaster Jiang, please forgive us. Your cultivation is too high, and you have a violent and bloodthirsty personality. We really don't feel at ease. You're considerate. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and extended his hands cooperatively. He knew that Qin Zhonghen could still be saved. Perhaps he was just bewitched by Beidasheng. However, the interests of Chen Shuaijiao's family were all in Japan, and they were closely related to the various financial groups in Japan. If it was in the past, they would be considered traitors and comprador lackeys. There was no way to convince them. Master Kong, I'm sorry. Chen Shuaijiao walked to Jiang Tian carefully and tied a knot on Jiang Tian's hands with the dragon snaring rope. At this moment, something unexpected happened. The dragon binding rope seemed to have a mind of its own. Like a spirit snake, it slithered around Jiang Tian's body, entangling his hands and feet. In an instant, Jiang Tian was completely tied up. It's really a treasure. Chen Shuaijiao took a step back subconsciously. Then, she smiled calmly. Kong Teichu, are you scared now? This is called the dragon snaring rope. It's made from the tendons of the ancient hornless dragon. It's really good. Jiang Tian also praised unhurriedly. Then, he said disdainfully, however, there's no Dharma treasure in this world that can tie up Kong Teichu. Seeing this, Chen Shuaijiao sneered. Kong Teichu, you're quite knowledgeable. But this dragon snaring rope can even tie up an immortal state warrior. This time, you're really dead. Let's see how long you can be arrogant. Even if I die, I'll be more honorable than you traitors. Jiang Tian sneered. Chen Shuaijiao was so angry that she vomited blood. The helicopter landed on the Guowei. Jiang Tian was lifted up by them again. He got off the helicopter and sailed to the rendezvous point. On the way, Jiang Tian didn't talk to Qin Zhonghen and Chen Shuaijiao at all. He was locked in the small black cabin and no one brought him water or food. However, Jiang Tian didn't care. With his current cultivation, he could go without food for a few days without any problems. Sai, hurry up and deliver. Once the paperwork is done, I'll be able to exonerate Linglong. Then, I can go on a killing spree. Jiang Tian could hear Chen Shuaijiao's smug laughter and conversation in the cabin not far away. He closed his eyes silently and a mocking smile appeared on his face. Chapter 405. Shuangqing Mansion, Fragrant Mountain, Yanjin. An old man in military attire was drinking tea and playing chess with a handsome young man in a moon-white gown. Di Cheng, you only come down once in 10 years, but you don't even come to see your Uncle Chow. I'm going to tell on you the next time I see the old man. As Chow Shixiang sipped his tea, he chuckled and said meaningfully. Next to them, Chow Jianjia was making tea for them. She looked at the top young master in Yanjing with admiration. The Chow family was a prestigious family and their biggest trump card was Chow Shixiang. They were one of the top 20 families in Huaxia. However, compared to the real top families, they were a lot weaker. The Bai family, which Beidasheng belonged to, had produced many military and political leaders. Their disciples were all over Huaxia's military and political circles. They were known as the 3 great men in one family, 5 generals in 4 generations, and were one of the top 3 families in the secular world. Chow Jianjia, who was making tea clumsily, was annoyed. All this time, she had been engrossed in martial arts. She knew nothing about things like the way of tea or go. Today, in White Emperor City, she was clumsy and clumsy. She was like a peasant in front of spring snow, unable to get a word in. She had exposed her timidity. Lord Chow, I know you're busy and I was about to visit you, but you came first. Please forgive me. Bai Dicheng was powerful and didn't seem to be any weaker than Lord Chow, who was a giant in the military. Chow Shixiang nodded and suddenly changed the topic. Di Cheng, about the Great Mountain incident, was it your idea or the Chen family's idea to send Jiang Taichu to Japan for punishment? I've just heard about it. It's mainly the Chen family's doing. Bai Dicheng smiled and said. Di Cheng, ah. This Jiang Taichu has a good relationship with me, and he was once Shanlong's martial arts chief consultant. He raised Shanlong's overall combat strength to an unimaginable level. Furthermore, he killed Lin Zhenyu, Wang Chongyan, Xiao Bin, and other enemy experts. It can be said that he is a rare genius who has made great contributions to the army and the nation. Can you mediate a little? Chao Shixiang almost begged. Uncle, you know that although I'm the honorary leader of the Condor team, it's actually just a title given to me by the young masters in Yanjin. Now that something has happened, someone has to be responsible. I'm afraid I can't say anything. Bai Diqing shook his head. A glint of anger flashed in Chao Shixiang's eyes and he smiled. Diqing, who doesn't know that you're the young master of Yanjin? The patriarchs of the 7 dominant families will treat your advice as invaluable. He said with deep emotion. Kang Teichu might seem unscrupulous and simple, but he has never done anything harmful to Huaxia. Moreover, he's the imperial preceptor of Singapore and has a deep relationship with Lord Tan. Protecting him will be a great benefit to Huaxia's martial arts community and Huaxia's economy and society. Lord Chao, you think too highly of me. Firstly, I don't know how to help the people and have no position in the military or politics. Secondly, I'm not good at interpersonal relationships and have no business in the secular world. You can say that I'm a useless person who knows a little about martial arts. What Yanjin Crown Prince's spiritual leader? That's what other people used to make fun of me. Did you really believe it? Bai Diqing laughed out loud. Brat, don't play dumb with me. Chao Shixiang smiled helplessly and pointed at Bai Diqing. Then, he said with emotion, Diqing, my idea is for you to inherit the long formation of the Martial Arts Alliance while Kang Teichu manages the Martial Arts Alliance. You two will work together to protect Huaxia. Believe me, if you protect him, he will become your right-hand man. Bai Diqing said seriously, Lord Chao, I understand that you love talents, but I think you don't have to worry. I know that Kang Teichu is very capable. He's known as the #1 Grandmaster on the Divine List. He has defeated Heng Tianzhao, Mo Haoxiong, Wei Shuafeng, Lin Zhenyu, Southeast Asia's Oyila, Master Qing Lian, Wang Chongyan of Singapore, Xiao Bin of Russia, and many other martial artists. His cultivation might have already stepped into the half-step divine realm. What kind of grace is this? What kind of talent is this? What kind of heaven-defying cultivation is this? He smiled slyly and said, send him to Japan and shut the mouths of the Japanese officials. Maybe he can even defeat the Cherry Blossom Society and raise the prestige of our country. Isn't this killing 2 birds with 1 stone? I also know that you and Uncle Yi Zhantian of the Long Formation have been trying to make Huaxia's martial arts world go international. Isn't this a good opportunity? Chao Shixiang sighed in his heart. He knew that he couldn't persuade Bai Diqing today. He smiled bitterly and got up. Well, let's wait for the good news together. Out of the Shuangqing villa, Yi Zhantian led the 4 great spirit generals and asked, Lord Chao, what does Lord Bai think? Chao Shixiang didn't answer directly. He spat on the ground and gritted his teeth. Bai Diqing, you are too narrow-minded and jealous. You are sending Kang Teichu to his death. Yi Zhantian's heart sank. He sighed and said, Lord Chao, are we really going to let Jiang Tian take the risk alone this time? There are several immortal state warriors in East Asia. More importantly, this is within the borders of Japan. If the Japanese self-defense forces are involved, Kang Teichu won't be able to come back alive. This time, Kang Teichu is really in danger. Black Tortoise said worriedly. Chao Shixiang frowned and sighed. How can Zhantian and I change the decision of the 7 great families? Yi Zhantian's face darkened and his eyes flashed. Suddenly, he got into a military off-road vehicle and waved his hand. Go to the airport. Zhantian, what are you doing? Chao Shixiang asked with a frown. I am going to help Jiang Tian. The Long Formation is the Great Wall of Huaxia's martial arts world. It is their responsibility to protect Huaxia. We should fight side by side. Yi Zhantian said without turning his head. Sigh, Chao Shixiang wanted to say something, but he didn't stop him. He sighed and said, Yi Zhantian and his old friends are more patriotic than Bai Dicheng. What a pity that Bai Dicheng is so powerful. After a day and a night of sailing. That night, the mighty nation finally docked with Ishii Yuren's Great East Asia. Stars twinkled in the dark blue sky. The sea was calm and peaceful. Jiang Tian's face was covered with a black cloth and his body was bound by the dragon snaring rope. He was escorted to the deck of the Great East Asia like a prisoner. Ishii Yuren, Nagaki Miyamoto, Hanzo Hattori, and dozens of other Japanese overlords were on standby. Even though Jiang Tian was like a prisoner, many Japanese overlords were still uneasy. Mrs. Ishii, Mr. Miyamoto, Mr. Hanzo Hattori, we finally meet. Chen Shuejiao walked forward gracefully, and every single move she made was elegant, decent, and charming. She shook hands with the other party's upper echelons and exchanged greetings. It was as if they were old friends. This is Kang Taechu. Please sign the acceptance document. Chen Shuejiao took out a document and asked Ishii Yuren to sign it. Ms. Chen, Huaxia is a peace-loving nation. We would like to express our utmost respect for what you have done. Ishii Yuren smiled and picked up the pen. He signed his name and stamped it with his personal seal and the official seal of the Sakura Society Yamaguchi Operation Group. The handover ceremony was complete. A Japanese samurai stepped forward and lifted the black cloth on Jiang Tian's face. He laughed mockingly and said, "Kid, aren't you arrogant? Didn't we capture him in the end? Ha! Idiot!" Seeing this, Qin Zongheng suddenly felt a wave of sadness. His nose felt a little sour. He was the #1 expert in Huaxia's martial arts world, but he was being disrespected and humiliated by a few Japanese. Don't be unreasonable. He shouted in Japanese, I hope you treat Master Kang Taechu well. Our country will also use diplomatic means to reach a fair and just solution with your country. Treat him well. He's already a prisoner, a lamb for us to slaughter. Moreover, he killed so many East Asians. Why should we treat him well? We will cut this devil into pieces today. Yes, we will also upload the video online and let everyone know the consequences of offending us Japanese. Inferior Sheena pig. Inferior race. We should kill them all. Ha! The sick man of East Asia has always been an ant that we bully. Since he is an ant, he should have the self-awareness of an ant. Don't resist, just lie on the ground and die silently. But he dares to resist. Hearing Qin Zongheng's words, many Japanese samurai laughed as if they had heard the funniest joke in the world. They laughed so hard that tears came out of their eyes. You have captured me. What a joke. Jiang Tian's cold gaze swept across the East Asian people as he smiled faintly and said, I am the one who captured you, right? Ishii Yuyen, Miyamoto Nagaki, Hattori Hanzo. Very good, everyone from Nomiya Shrine is here. I was just about to look for you. What kind of taste does this kid have? Meeting Jiang Tian's cold eyes, Ishii Yuyen, Miyamoto Nagaki, and Hattori Hanzo suddenly felt their hearts tighten. They had a bad feeling. They felt that they were the prey and Jiang Tian was the hunter who was going to kill them. But then they comforted themselves with the thought that no matter how powerful Jiang Tian was, he had already taken the heartburn tea and was bound tightly by the dragon-snaring lasso. Even if he was an immortal state warrior, he would be at the mercy of others. That warrior didn't realize the danger he was in. He pushed Jiang Tian's head a couple of times, and with a face full of disdain, he scolded in a loud and imposing voice. Idiot! What are you staring at? Behave yourself. Master Kang, do you think you are that great? Aren't you still subdued by us now? Kneel down obediently and let me cut off your neck. Is that so? You want to chop off my neck? Come on. Jiang Tian suddenly let out a hideous laugh as he pushed his arms forward. Bang! Bang! A few muffled sounds. Under everyone's incredulous gaze, the dragon-snaring lasso created by Abe Saimai became thinner and thinner. In the end, after a few blinding flashes of golden light, the lasso broke and fell to the ground like a dead snake. Jiang Tian was like a demon god who had broken the shackles. He took a step forward and stood there majestically. His eyes were cold as thunder rumbled. Today, all the East Asians on this ship will die. Chapter 406. What? That's the dragon snaring lasso. How did it break? The dragon snaring lasso. It's said to be able to bind a dragon and an immortal state warrior. Does he still have cultivation? How is that possible? He has already taken the 5 poison heart-burning tea. Everyone's expression changed drastically as they all cried out in shock. They subconsciously took a step back, their eyes filled with fear as they looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a demon god. They weren't afraid of Jiang Tian who had taken the poison tea and was bound by the dragon-snaring lasso, but they were terrified of Kang Taechu. He was a peerless overlord who had killed Ngo and Anpei Qingkong. Even Ishii Yulian, Nagaki Miyamoto, and Hanzo Hattori were horrified, their faces full of shock. Ishii Yulian looked at Chen Shuejiao and said angrily, "Miss Chen, please give me an explanation. What is going on?" "Well, I have already fed him the medicine and tied him up with the dragon-snaring lasso as you requested." Chen Shuejiao, who was flaunting her prowess in front of Jiang Tian, was frightened by Ishii Yulian. Her face turned pale as she pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted, "Kang Taechu, please cooperate with the Japanese officials. Don't resist, or you will have to bear the consequences." "Chen Shuejiao, come back. We have finished the handover. What happens next has nothing to do with us." Qin Zongheng stepped forward and tried to pull Chen Shuejiao back, but failed. He was not happy with the Japanese, so he had no choice but to hand over Jiang Tian. He didn't want to be as submissive as Chen Shuejiao. "Kang Taechu, surrender now. Don't forget that your family is still in Huaxia." Chen Shuejiao threatened. "To our countrymen, they shout and kill, awe-inspiring. Bowing to the enemy is like meeting your own parents." Jiang Tian shot her a disdainful glance and said sarcastically, "You guys have the nerve to call yourselves China's elites and youths. Bah! You are a disgrace to Huaxia. Trash! You don't deserve to be called a descendant of the Yellow Emperor. You are the shame of Huaxia. So what if your cultivation is strong? No matter how much trouble you've brought to Huaxia, you naturally have to take responsibility for it." Chen Shuejiao's pretty face turned red, but she couldn't argue. She frowned and shouted, "Jiang Tian, plead guilty immediately. Don't resist. Otherwise, I won't let the Jiang family off. I'll make sure that the dozens of people in your family die without a burial place. I know everything about you. Bitch, you dare to threaten me." For the first time, Jiang Tian's eyes became cold as he stared at Chen Shuejiao, his murderous aura soaring to the sky. It could be said that whether the Chen family was in cahoots with the Japanese conglomerates, or Chen Shuejiao betrayed her country for glory and became a traitorous lackey of the Japanese, Jiang Tian didn't have the intention to kill her. There were all kinds of birds in the forest. However, she dared to threaten his family and friends, which touched Jiang Tian's reverse scale. He absolutely couldn't tolerate it. Chen Shuejiao was so frightened by Jiang Tian that she subconsciously took a step back. But on second thought, what was there to be afraid of? She was the legitimate daughter of the Chen family. The Chen family's influence in Huaxia was ranked in the top few, and they had produced several officials of the border. Kang Taechu was so powerful that he dared to challenge the Chen family of Yanjing. Unless he didn't want to stay in Huaxia anymore. Thinking of this, she became strong-willed. She straightened her neck and said proudly, "I'm threatening you. What can you do to me? Ha, do you dare to hit me? You are surrounded by enemies. You're about to die. You'd better behave and not cause trouble for your family, you're right. I won't hit you. But I will kill you." Before Jiang Tian's voice died away, he stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion. Chen Shuaijiao felt a strong and irresistible suction force coming at her. It was as if she had fallen into a black hole in the depths of the universe. Even if she used many secret techniques, she still couldn't break free. She flew uncontrollably in front of Jiang Tian. Her snow-white and slender neck was already grabbed by Jiang Tian's right hand, which was like a big iron clamp. Let go of me. I beg you." Chen Shuaijiao's eyes were filled with terror. She was so scared that she wet her pants and made an extremely weak sound of begging for mercy. Jiang Tian's cold and ruthless eyes told her that all this was not a joke. It was not a bluff. Jiang Tian really dared to kill her. "Master Kong, stop. This woman, you can't kill her." Qin Zongheng was so scared that his face turned pale. He cried out and begged for mercy. "Even the Heavenly King can't threaten me, let alone you. Go and die." Jiang Tian smiled ferociously as he exerted force in his hands. Only a crack could be heard. After a crisp sound, blood and broken bones splashed out from Chen Shuaijiao's neck. Her head hung limply to the side. Her bloodshot eyes protruded out and blood flowed out of her orifices. She was already dead. What? He killed Chen Shuaijiao. Many members of the Condor team were stunned. Even Qin Zongheng's forehead was covered with sweat. His face was pale and he was on the verge of collapsing. Chen Shuaijiao. She was the daughter of the Chen family. The Chen family was one of the top families in Huaxia. In terms of identity and status, the four beauties of Yan Jin, Chao Jianjia and Song Xuanyan were nothing compared to her. Be it the richest people on the Forbes list or the influential officials of the border, they all had to give her some face when they saw her. But now, Jiang Tian had killed him without any hesitation. It was as simple as killing a chicken. Jiang Tian looked calm. He linked his hands behind his back and his white outfit was spotless. He stood there like a god. He looked at the Japanese overlords with disdain and sneered. "Everyone from Nomiya Shrine, let's do it." For a moment, the entire place went silent. No one dared to answer. In an instant, Jiang Tian's body emitted a monstrous amount of pressure. It was like a raging wave slapping against the shore, pushing out in all directions. The three elites of Nomiya Shrine and many other Japanese overlords were so scared that they backed away a dozen meters. Jiang Tian then looked at Qin Zongheng and the others and said, "Qin Zongheng and everyone from the Condor team, if you want to help the Japanese, then let's do it together. I, Kang Taechu, don't mind accompanying you." Being stared at by Jiang Tian like that, Qin Zongheng felt like he was being looked down at by a god. He felt uneasy and a chill ran down his spine. This kind of terrifying energy and pressure was something that not even his master, the sect master of Dian Song, could do, let alone the young grandmasters of Beidasheng. Qin Zongheng was secretly shocked, but fortunately, he managed to keep a calm face. He bowed and said, "Master Kong, you must be joking. We are all descendants of Huaxia. Escorting you here is just a temporary measure. The Condor team's mission has been completed. What happens next has nothing to do with us. You're a smart man. Just do your job." Jiang Tian smiled faintly, then looked at the Japanese expert again and sneered, "What? Are you scared? If you're scared, then kneel and cut your own throat to apologize. Maybe if I'm in a good mood, I'll leave your bodies intact." How arrogant. Kill him. We can't let him escape. We have more people. We don't need to be afraid of him. The 5 poison heart-burning tea's effect should be triggered. He won't be able to use his cultivation soon. Many Japanese experts only reacted at this moment. They all shouted and roared loudly to boost their momentum and encourage themselves. "Take this." A kendo master was not convinced. He pulled out his shiny katana and jumped up like a carp leaping over the dragon's gate. He held the hilt of his katana tightly and slashed it down. This slash was like an antelope hanging its horn. It was untraceable and natural. Everyone only saw a cold light. It was as if the cold light was shining on iron armor or the Milky Way falling from the sky. The Japanese overlords are indeed extraordinary. The Cherry Blossom Society is even more powerful. This slash is comparable to the Grandmasters of Hua Xia. Seeing this, Qin Zongheng and the other members of the Condor team were shocked. The muscles at the corner of their eyes were twitching. Now, they agreed with Beta Sheng's view again. The Japanese Cherry Blossom Society has a strong foundation and many overlords. They are far more powerful than the martial arts world of Hua Xia. We should avoid them and bide our time. Useless. It's just an insignificant skill, yet you still have the nerve to bring it out and make a fool of yourself. Jiang Tian smiled and reached out his hand. Boom! Jiang Tian grabbed his katana. Under the surging strength, the peerless sword made by the Japanese swordsmith Akira Toriyama, which could cut through iron as if it were mud, actually shattered like paper. What? The sword Dao master was dumbfounded as he held the bare hilt of his sword and cried out in alarm. The scene before his eyes was too shocking and inconceivable. As one of the top 20 kendo masters in Japan, he was extremely powerful. With just one slash, the sharp blade aura alone could cut through huge rocks and vajra. The blade itself could even split open an armored vehicle. But now, the blade chi and sword techniques were useless in front of Jiang Tian. It was like an ant trying to shake a tree. Useless. How dare you use a sword? What a joke. Before the kendo master could react, Jiang Tian had already slapped him with his left hand. Face slapping. Jiang Tian's palm was like a high-speed train, smashing on his face with the force of a thunderbolt. Under such a terrifying force, the kendo master's head exploded like a watermelon. Red and white matter splattered everywhere. The headless body flew a dozen meters away, broke the metal side of the ship, and fell into the sea to feed the fish. What? He killed him with one slap. Is this the power of an immortal state warrior? Many Japanese were shocked and frightened. A kendo master. They were not ordinary people. Their strength was equivalent to the martial Dao grandmasters of Huaxia. Which one of them was not a terrifying existence? However, Jiang Tian had slapped him to death like a fly. The man in front of them was too terrifying. Even Nagaki Miyamoto and Hanzo Hattori felt uneasy. Their bodies tensed up and their eyes were filled with fear. Kang Taechu was too powerful. That slap didn't use any Dharma spells or martial arts skills. It was purely physical strength. However, he was able to crush the head of a kendo master. Such strength was comparable to the immortal state warriors in Japan. This was too frightening. Chapter 407. Holy shit! Kang Taechu really lives up to his name. This is unbelievable. Many members of the Condor team found it hard to believe. They were deeply shocked and a little scared. This was because Jiang Tian didn't want to make things difficult for them and cooperated with them. If Jiang Tian wanted to escape, who would be able to stop him? He lives up to his name. I heard that Kang Taechu had already reached the immortal state. Now that I have seen it for myself, it is indeed true. Even Qin Zongheng looked at Qin Fan in awe. Although he was on by Diqing's side and was competing with Jiang Tian and Yi Zhantian, he had to admit that Jiang Tian was indeed a genius. At least in terms of cultivation, Jiang Tian could definitely crush him. Even Bai Diqing of the Condor unit was a far cry from Jiang Tian. A trace of shock flashed across Ishii Yulian's charming face, and then he shouted in exasperation, "What are you afraid of? We Dongyang people are known for our fighting spirit. Our Yamaguchi-gumi upholds the spirit of the samurai. We are not afraid of death. Whoever can kill this monster will be rewarded with 20 pounds of gold. Whoever can make him bleed will be rewarded with 10 pounds of gold." One had to admit that money was a good thing. With such a great reward, there were bound to be brave men. Everyone present was originally a fugitive. Normally, they treated human lives like grass. Their heads were tied to the waist of their pants. They were truly ruthless people. Now that there was such a great reward, the fear in their hearts disappeared. It was replaced by a murderous aura and an unyielding fighting spirit. Kill. Together. Many kendo masters, ninjas, and yin-yang masters used their ultimate skills and charged toward Jiang Tian like a tidal wave. Good, very good. You should have done this from the start. What a waste of time. Seeing 7 or 8 kendo masters charging at him, Jiang Tian smirked and waved his fingers. A Gung Jin Chi weapon swept across the area. This Chi weapon was dazzling and golden, but it was actually extremely sharp. Its murderous aura was endless, as if it could wipe out all living things in the world. Swoosh! Walla walla! Wherever the Chi soldier passed, the steel katanas in the hands of the 8 kendo experts were sliced apart as if they were made of paper. After that, the Gung Jin Chi weapon's momentum did not diminish and they were all cut in half at the waist. Amidst the mournful cries, waves of blood surged and sprayed out, flowing together with the steaming hot internal organs on the ground. This was a bloody scene. With a wave of Jiang Tian's finger, 8 sword experts bore the brunt of the attack and all fell. The pungent smell of blood filled the air, and the deck was covered in blood, limbs, and organs. They didn't die immediately. Some of them crawled and screamed while dragging their innards, making this area look like a scene from hell. This, oh my god, this person is simply a demon. Retreat! Retreat! The dozens of Japanese masters at the front stopped in their tracks. The blood on the ground was sticky and slippery, and a few of them slipped and fell on their butts. The people behind didn't see the situation clearly and rushed forward, trampling on the few who fell on the ground. For a moment, people were thrown off their horses, cursing, screaming, and screaming. It was a hilarious scene. For a moment, many people retreated, and Ishii Yulian shouted again and again. Threats and promises were useless. They were not afraid of death, but they were afraid of dying in such a horrible way. It was like Huaxia's torture. Compared to this horrible torture, the reward of a few dozen pounds of gold was not worth mentioning. Mr. Hattori, Mr. Nagako, they are scared. What should we do? Ishii Yulian's face was serious, and his right hand was trembling slightly. No worries. I will use a secret technique to control them. Onmyoji replied in a deep voice and immediately made a few hand seals, activating a prearranged array. Swoosh! Swoosh! Beams of yellow light shot up into the sky, and balls of yellow light filled the entire deck. Suddenly, the eyes of many Japanese rolled back, and then blood chi filled their eyes. They were like zombies, and their bodies were stiff. They screamed and rushed toward Jiang Tian. Could the Japanese Onmyoji be so powerful that they can control souls? Seeing this, Jiang Tian was slightly surprised. Then he shook his head and smiled disdainfully, so it's the bloodline imprint technique. In the cultivation world, soul control technique was even more powerful than soul searching technique. Once one's soul was controlled, they would become a walking corpse, a puppet completely under the control of others. They would feel no pain, and they would not fear death. They would often become a terrifying suicide squad in battle. However, this yin-yang master didn't use the soul control technique of the cultivation world. Instead, he used the bloodlines of many powerhouses to refine the soul formation stone, forming a close connection between the yin-yang master, the soul formation stone, and the bloodline possessor. The Onmyoji activated the soul array stone and stimulated the fighting spirit of many Japanese, controlling their minds and making them fearless, bloodthirsty, and cruel. Although this method was very crude and required the use of external objects such as the soul array formation stone, and even the collection of fresh blood. After a long period of sacrificial refining and baptism, one could imprint certain thoughts and consciousness into the minds of these Japanese people. But the effect was shocking. These Japanese overlords had no fear, and they didn't even feel pain. They swarmed forward like walking corpses. Whoosh! Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows and took out Xiao Hei's flying sword for the first time. Xiao Hei's flying sword shot into the sky. A black light more than 10 meters long tore through the void. It was as if a long and narrow black hole had appeared in this space, and it had a strange charm that could absorb and annihilate everything. It was extremely breathtaking. Xiao Hei's flying sword slashed down. The wide sword aura of about 10 meters in length was like a flash of golden lightning, and it was also like the Milky Way falling from the sky. One slash could destroy everything in the world. One slash could kill all the people in the world. There was a boom. A terrifying sword mark more than a meter wide appeared on the deck made of special steel. More than 20 people were cut into pieces by the sharp Gung Jin sword aura. Their heads exploded and their chests collapsed. Some were even turned into meat paste. Seeing this, Ishii Yulian was shocked and couldn't believe it. This sword art is overbearing and murderous. It can cut mountains and rivers in half. It's far more powerful than the sword arts of Mount Shu, Diansong, and Wu Dang. Many members of the Condor team were dumbfounded. Even Qin Zongheng felt a chill in his heart. If they stood in the position of the Japanese, there was only one word to describe the result: death. There was absolutely no chance of escape. Terrifying. His sword art is terrifying. Even the Sword Saint of Japan and the Sword God can't use such a terrifying attack. Nagaki Miyamoto was frightened and his face turned pale. He was a kendo master and knew very well. He knew how terrifying Jiang Tian was when he attacked Jiang Tian. What should we do? Ishii Yulian was anxious. If this continued, the overlords of the Yamaguchi-gumi and the Japanese would be wiped out by Jiang Tian in 3 slashes. The array has been activated. There's no way to stop it. Let's see if we can get lucky and exhaust this guy to death. The Onmyoji sighed with a complicated expression. Yes, 2 fists can't beat 4 hands. We have so many masters. Can't we kill him? Hattori Hanzo's sinister eyes stared at Jiang Tian, and used his fingers to signal the other ninjas to attack as well. Ishii Yulian was comforted by this and gradually calmed down. In her opinion, as long as she could kill Jiang Tian, it was worth sacrificing more overlords. The strength of this Hua Xia youth was too terrifying and he was so young. Ishii Yulian couldn't imagine how powerful this person would become in 10 or 20 years. Kill. 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 Just as the Onmyoji said, even if the remaining people were heavily injured, even if they lost an arm or a leg, even if they were covered in blood, their eyes were still filled with murderous intent. They were like puppets that didn't feel any pain. In the midst of their screams, they charged towards Jiang Tian. Their katanas swung and slashed, creating afterimages as they tried to kill Jiang Tian. Very good. This is the first time I've had so much fun killing since I returned to this world. Ha! Seeing this, Jiang Tian muttered. With a thought, Xiao Hei's flying sword swept out. Boom! The golden Gung Jin Chi weapon was born. It was like a golden rainbow that swept across the void. The earth shook as it swept out. The terrifying golden light blinded many people's eyes, and left many sword marks on the ground. Amidst the rolling waves of blood, the spurting blood arrows, and the spreading blood mist, some people were cut in half, some were decapitated, and some were smashed into meat paste by the surging monstrous power. The deck had become a hell on earth. This time, more than 30 masters had fallen. However, when Jiang Tian slashed out, it also gave some ninjas and Onmyoji who were good at long-range attacks a chance to attack. In the crowd, Fujiwara Mureo made a hand seal and the surging ninja on his body turned into a black python. It was about 17 to 18 meters long, and the bull-sized scales on it looked like they were real. Just the part that was standing upright was about 5 to 6 meters tall. The snake's head was held high, and it opened its bloody mouth, trying to bite Jiang Tian. Although Fujiwara Mureo hasn't stepped into the level of shinobi, he is a poison ninja. Ninja is the most poisonous thing in the world. A drop of ninja can kill a grandmaster of Hua Xia. Seeing this, even Hattori Hanzo nodded slightly. Nagaki Miyamoto also praised, I didn't expect him to make so many poisonous ninjas to form a giant python. This move has the upper hand. I'm afraid that even a half-step immortal state warrior can't resist it. You want to hurt me with just a little bit of poisonous gas? Jiang Tian just smiled disdainfully and waved his hand. Jiang Tian's power was astounding. Kaboom! A surging golden chi wave swept out like a hurricane and blasted toward the black python with monstrous power. The deck within a radius of several hundred meters suddenly trembled like the skin of a drum. Wherever the airwaves passed, people and horses were thrown off their feet and wailed in agony. Many people were thrown back with blood spurting out of their mouths. Even their samurai swords were shattered. In the mournful cry, the black python crumbled like a piece of paper and turned into a stinky black wind that swept toward Fujiwara Murao. How is this possible? Fujiwara Murao was dumbfounded and even forgot to run or hide. The poisonous gas was condensed by powerful ninja and could not be penetrated by bullets or blown away by cannonballs. However, it was easily crushed by the young man's sleeve. He was the first to be hit and was wrapped in the black poisonous gas. He fell to the ground and died without even a scream. Chapter 408. Many Japanese overlords were also affected. Once they came into contact with a drop of the black chi, a deep hole would appear on their bodies. The hole continued to spread and their flesh turned into blood. In a blink of an eye, they had stopped struggling and turned into a pile of bones. In a blink, a dozen more people had fallen to the ground. Furthermore, the shockwave swept out in all directions. Even a helicopter weighing several tons in the distance slid several meters away. Even the many array stones of the soul array were destroyed. After the array that stimulated the battle will disappeared, the red in the eyes of the remaining Japanese overlords disappeared. Their divine souls returned to their original positions and their consciousness became clear again. When they saw the corpses and blood all over the ground, they all cried out in shock and retreated. They were scared witless. The scene was a mess. Blood and flesh were everywhere and bodies were piled up. The smell of blood and cruelty made everyone's heart beat faster. What? He is so powerful. Ishii Yulian's face was as pale as a sheet and her body trembled. She was terrified and felt her heart ache. What was frightening was that Jiang Tian's cultivation was too heaven-defying. Even the dragon-snaring lasso and the 5 poison heart-burning tea couldn't stop him and his power didn't decrease at all. None of the kendo masters, Iri ninjas, and Onmyoji could defeat him. What made her feel sad was that the Hajia clan ninjas and the kendo Nitin Ichiryu had suffered heavy casualties, but the Yamaguchi-gumi had suffered the most. Dozens of top fighters had died, which was the most serious defeat the Yamaguchi-gumi had suffered since its formation. After this battle, the Yamaguchi-gumi had lost all its elites and would only be a third-rate gang. Compared to the Italian mafia, the Big Circle, and the Mexican Holy Church, there was a difference. The number 1 Grandmaster in Hua Xia and the 3rd Overlord on the Dark Roll is indeed powerful. Very well. I will use the Nitin Ichiryu's kendo to challenge you. Let's see who is more powerful. At this time, Nagaru Miyamoto's eyes flickered as he approached Jiang Tian step by step. His voice was filled with murderous intent. Master Miyamoto is finally going to attack. Master Miyamoto, please kill this bastard. Everyone present cried out in surprise and knelt down. Their faces were filled with excitement and shock as if they were worshipping a god. Even Ishii Yulian and Hattori Hanzo looked excited and expectant, unable to maintain their calm. Nagaru Miyamoto, the current master of Nitin Ryu, was a kendo grand teacher. Nitin Ryu was a very powerful school in Japan. It was known for its offense, and it even surpassed the North Star One-Blade School. As the sect master and a sword Dao grand teacher, he was second only to the sword saint and sword god in the world of Japanese kendo. His power was comparable to a half-immortal state warrior or even an immortal state warrior. If the martial arts world of Huaxia were to be compared, the masters of martial arts families such as Heng Tianzhao, Wei Shuofeng, and Mo Haoxiong, who lived in the secular world, would be slightly inferior. Perhaps only the elite disciples of semi-hidden sects such as Diansong and Wudang could be on par with them. Nagaki Miyamoto's footsteps were very steady. Step by step, he walked into the field. His figure was as majestic as a mountain, incomparably dignified, as if no one could shake him. However, the murderous intent in his eyes made him look like a peerless sword that had been unsheathed. He is Nagaki Miyamoto. He is a master. I am afraid that he is on par with the elite disciples of some sects in Huaxia. Qin Zongheng's face paled. Even though Nagaki Miyamoto hadn't made a move yet, he and the other overlords of the Condor team could feel the overwhelming pressure. The bones in their bodies creaked as if their chests were going to collapse in the next moment. They couldn't help but retreat more than 10 meters away. Nitten Ryu. You are just a piece of garbage. I will let you know that you Japanese don't deserve to use a sword. However, Jiang Tian was still calm. He looked at Nagaki Miyamoto with disdain as if he were a 3-year-old kid who dared to provoke a brawny man. Kang Taechu, you are too arrogant. You don't know the power of Japanese kendo. Nagaki Miyamoto was enraged by Chen Fan's words. Bang! The deck shook violently and a deep footprint was left behind on the deck. His body was as agile as a dragon as he climbed to a height of 10 meters. Then, he drew out his katana and slashed downward. Nitten Ryu, moon set, crows cry and frost fill the sky. He slashed with the blade. A bright moon formed from sword chi suddenly appeared in the heavens and the earth, and it was like an enormous silver plate. It was cold, gloomy, and emanated a silver radiance. Strange phenomena appeared one after another, giving one the feeling of a bright moon rising above the sea. Every ray of light seemed peaceful, neither warm nor fiery. However, they were all filled with extreme killing intent. They could pierce through the body of a transcendent state overlord and crush a tank. The moon-shaped sword chi spun and slashed towards Jiang Tian. Wherever it passed, the air billowed, and a 1-meter-wide sword mark silently appeared on the deck. It was a ghastly sight. You guys like to copy Huaxia's martial arts. I didn't expect that you would use Huaxia's Tang Dynasty poems as well. Jiang Tian's face was full of disdain. The little black flying sword floating in front of his chest let out a sad cry and kept buzzing. Soon after, it broke through the air and flew out. The little black flying sword was unbelievably fast. It was beyond the limit of human eyes. With a shrill and ear-piercing sword whistle, it easily pierced through the full moon of sword energy with a ripping sound. Boom! The crescent-shaped sword chi exploded like a grenade, causing the deck to crack and leave behind terrifying holes. A few Japanese experts nearby were pierced by the shards. Blood gushed out as they lost their lives. What? Nagaki Miyamoto was shocked. He had never thought that Jiang Tian would be able to break his falling moon form so easily. But in the next moment, a black bolt of lightning appeared in his eyes, and it suddenly became bigger. The little black flying sword actually didn't lose its momentum, and continued to slash at him. Block it! Nagaki Miyamoto roared and swung the katana Orochimaru in his right hand. At the same time, his left hand grabbed at the air and pulled 8 wind blades in front of his chest. He wanted to block Jiang Tian's sword. But how could Jiang Tian's flying sword be so easy to block? Bang! With a loud bang, Orochimaru and the 8 wind blades, which were created by the Japanese master refiner, shattered in an instant. Nagaki Miyamoto flew more than 10 meters away like a scarecrow and crashed into the cabin. He hung there for 10 seconds before rolling down. Even Nagaki Miyamoto is no match for him. Ishii Yulian was shocked and couldn't believe it. His scalp was numb and his chest was heaving violently. Even Hattori Hanzo was slightly moved and his body was tense. He decided to make a move. He was afraid that Nagaki Miyamoto alone was no match for this Huaxia boy. The Nitin first-rate kendo masters were stunned. This was the master of the Nitin first-rate kendo, the great teacher of kendo. His sword moves, sword momentum, sword intent, and sword chi had all reached the level of perfection. One sword move could destroy the world, and one sword move could overlook all living things. However, his most powerful move had been broken by this Huaxia boy. It took them a full minute to remember to help Nagaki Miyamoto up, but Nagaki Miyamoto shook them off. Angry. Nagaki Miyamoto was really angry. In fact, among the 4 major shrines under the Sakura Kai, Nomiya Shrine was the most active in Huaxia. Nagaki Miyamoto, on the other hand, had entered Huaxia many times to plunder cultivation resources and assassinate politicians and rich people. Whether it was martial arts grandmasters or spell masters, he had killed more than 10 of them. When had he ever suffered such a big loss? But at this time, his clogs were gone. He was barefoot, his white kendo suit was dirty, and his long hair was disheveled. He looked very embarrassed. He was like a beggar on the street. Where was the demeanor of the top 5 kendo great teacher in Japan? Bakayaro. Nagaki Miyamoto crawled to his feet and gnashed his teeth in anger. The look in his eyes was as if he wanted to skin Jiang Tian alive. You are very good. You can block my little black sword. So far, except for Wang Chongyan, you are the only one. Jiang Tian was praising, but his tone was infuriating. It seemed that Nagaki Miyamoto should have been killed by Jiang Tian's sword. He was surprised that he could block the attack. You are too arrogant. Do you think your Huaxia martial Dao is a match for my supreme Japanese kendo Nitin Ichiryu? Nagaki Miyamoto shouted and then clenched his hands in the air. A powerful bloodline aura spread out from his body and formed a 10-meter-long giant red blade aura between his fingers and palms. Sensei is going to use his ultimate skill. Seeing this, Nagaki Miyamoto's disciples exclaimed. Ultimate skill? A Japanese master next to them was puzzled. Nitin Ichiryu, profound meaning, sacrifice. Nagaki Miyamoto's disciples were shocked and said word by word. Yes, Miyamoto used his life's blood essence to condense the blade chi, which instantly increased his combat strength by 10 times, reaching the attack power of a real half-step into the divine realm. However, this is a way to deal damage to the enemy at the expense of oneself. His physique and lifespan will also be severely damaged. Hattori Hanzo's face was extremely solemn. It could be said that his old friend Nagaki Miyamoto was going all out in order to kill Kang Taechu. The blood-red wind blade crossed the sky and became more and more condensed and pure. Nagaki Miyamoto's face instantly turned as pale as paper, and his body trembled violently. Blade of sacrifice, slash. He took a deep breath, exhaled, and let out a thunderous roar. Holding the blood-red saber in his hand, he abruptly slashed down. The dazzling saber light crushed the void and cut through the air. It was like a blood-red lightning striking down from the sky. This blood-red blade was like a rainbow piercing through the sun. It seemed like even a mountain would be flattened by this blade. This blade of sacrifice was extremely sharp and it was condensed from his life's cultivation. Nagaki Miyamoto was confident that even if a tank was here, he could split it in half. No matter how strong Jiang Tian was, he was just flesh and blood. How could he resist? It's over. Kang Taechu is in danger. This blade is so powerful that even Yi Zhantian would have a hard time dealing with it. Maybe those reclusive old monsters in Dian Sung and Wu Dang's sect might be able to resist it. Many members of the Condor team were worried about Jiang Tian. Even Qin Zongheng's face changed dramatically and he exclaimed. Chapter 409. Originally, they were all friends and subordinates of White Emperor City. They had always been disgusted with Jiang Tian, who rose from the Jianghu but was able to suppress White Emperor City. But at this time, they unconsciously stood on Jiang Tian's side. Perhaps, in their subconsciousness, they also dreamed of conquering Japan and spreading the prestige of their country. And Jiang Tian's killing made them very happy. Nitin Ichiryu only has this crude blood coagulation technique. do you think you can suppress Huaxia's martial arts? What a fool. In response, Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully. He stepped forward, stretched out his white hand, and pinched the extremely sharp blood-red blade aura. The blade aura froze in the air as if it had fallen into a boulder and could no longer move forward. What? Nagaki Miyamoto's heart skipped a beat. He couldn't believe it and was so shocked that he almost fell to the ground. The sacrificial blood coagulation blade was the strongest move that he had comprehended in recent years after racking his brains. However, Jiang Tian managed to block the attack with just his bare hands. This was beyond his understanding. It was too incredible. I'll show you what real martial arts is. Jiang Tian shook his arm and the sacrificing blade instantly shattered like a piece of paper. His blood and chi were scattered all over the place. Run! Seeing this, Nagaki Miyamoto was scared out of his wits. This was the only thought in his mind. Only now did he realize that Jiang Tian's strength was too terrible, far beyond his imagination. Maybe the god of sword or several divine priests of Japan could suppress him, but he was definitely no match for him. He didn't say a word and didn't even turn around. He stomped his feet on the ground and shot toward a helicopter like a big bird. Hee, it's a bit too late for you to think of running away now. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully. He had a thought. The little black flying sword floating in front of him shot toward Nagaki Miyamoto like a cruise missile with a burst of explosive sound. Shield of Endurance, block it for me. At this moment, Hattori Hanzo, who was already prepared, finally made his move. Both of his hands formed hand seals, and with a wave of his left hand, he formed a seal in the void. A ninja shield with a radius of 3 meters condensed in front of Xiao Hei's flying sword, trying to block the attack for Nagaki Miyamoto. At the same time, with a wave of his right hand, more than a dozen ninja darts and wind blades like a long dragon swept towards Jiang Tian. Kill him. It's time to end this. At this moment, Ishii Yulian also made his move. Both of his hands tightly gripped the hilt of the katana hanging on his waist, and quickly approached Jiang Tian with small steps. A cold light flashed as the saber was unsheathed. A saber light that was more than 5 meters long slashed towards Jiang Tian like mercury. Nagaki Miyamoto attracted Jiang Tian's firepower, while Hattori Hanzo and Ishii Yuren used their unique skills. It was equivalent to the 3 masters of Nomiya Shrine attacking together. The lineup was super luxurious, and for a moment the battlefield was surrounded by danger. Even if the Russian Grandmaster Qiao Bin was here, he would have to be careful and try his best to deal with it. Humph. Ants will always be ants. Could it be that 3 ants can bite off a single strand of my hair? Jiang Tian shook his head slightly in disdain. The 3 of them worked together with a tacit understanding and amazing lethality. Perhaps Huaxia martial Dao grandmasters like Hu Qingtian and Wei Feilong would have to retreat. But for Jiang Tian, who had cultivated the Gengjin divine body and broke through to the 5th level of Qi refining stage, they were just ants that he could kill with a raise of his hand. Under the urging of divine sense, Xiao Hei's flying sword broke through the speed of sound and pierced through the shield with a bang. Even if Nagaki Miyamoto continuously changed his figure and trajectory, Xiao Hei's flying sword was still firmly locked on him. Puff! In just a blink of an eye, Xiao Hei's flying sword pierced through Nagaki Miyamoto's chest with blood and viscera fragments. Nagaki Miyamoto didn't even make a sound and fell to the deck. He clutched his chest and died. Nagaki Miyamoto, the first master of the Nitin Ryu sect and the great teacher of Japanese Kendo, was dead. At this moment, Hattori Hanzo's ninja wind blade and hidden weapon had already arrived in front of Jiang Tian. They were less than a meter away, but suddenly, a black bolt of lightning shot out from Jiang Tian's fingers. Bang, bang, bang. There was a series of explosions like a string of firecrackers. Many wind blades and hidden weapons were turned into fragments and wreckage. In less than a second, all of them exploded and shattered. The black lightning burst out and in the blink of an eye, it was in front of Hattori Hanzo. What is this? Hattori Hanzo's eyes were filled with horror. He didn't see Jiang Tian's other weapons at all. At this time, he didn't see what the black lightning was. But the only thing he knew was that the threat of death was close at hand. In a hurry, he pushed his endurance to the limit and grabbed at the air in panic. He pulled out a shield from the void and blocked in front of him. At the same time, he retreated quickly. But how could his shield of enduring withstand the power of the black iron shuttle? This was the relic of the demon immortal battle Saint Ape. It was made of Gungjin mother iron, and after Jiang Tian's sacrificial refining, it had powerful magical power. The shield didn't even last for a second before it shattered. The black iron shuttle pierced through his chest, bringing his body up into the air and nailing him to the cabin. The exposed tail of the shuttle was still trembling slightly, and blood flowed out along the cabin wall. The second master, Heiga Ryu Ninja, Hattori Hanzo, God-level ninja, Hattori Hanzo, was dead. At this time, Ishii Yuren's incomparably violent blade also arrived. Jiang Tian waved his hand and sneered, courting death. A surging golden airflow pushed out like an 18-level tsunami. Under this unstoppable force, Ishii Yulian's blade aura crumbled like a piece of paper. Her body flew more than 10 meters away like a kite in the wind. She spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, motionless. No one knew whether she was dead or alive. This was as fast as lightning. Jiang Tian used less than 3 seconds. Even the 3 masters of Zenamiya Shrine were stunned. For a moment, everyone was stunned. Master Kong, 1. A member of the Condor team gulped, his face was full of disbelief. These were the 3 masters of Zenamiya Shrine. In the whole of Japan, they could be ranked in the top 10. Even if Yi Zhantian were to face the 3 of them together, he would have a hard time dealing with them. However, Jiang Tian had only used 3 seconds to kill 3 of them. Moreover, he had done it so effortlessly. What kind of power was that? What kind of power was that? What kind of power was that? What kind of talent was that? Kang Tae-chu, 1. Qin Zongheng said with difficulty. He looked at Jiang Tian with a complicated expression. Before this, he was jealous of Jiang Tian. After all, he was an elite disciple of the semi-hidden Wu Dang sect. He even had the ambition to compete with Jiang Tian and make a name for himself in the martial arts world by defeating Jiang Tian. But after seeing Jiang Tian's terrifying strength, he didn't even have the courage to be jealous. That lofty aspiration to challenge Jiang Tian had long since fallen to the ground and shattered into pieces, unable to be picked up again. Everyone, your mission is complete. Let's go home. Jiang Tian turned to Qin Zongheng and said lightly. Yes, Master Kong. Your next mission has nothing to do with the Condor team anymore. Qin Zongheng bowed respectfully and cupped his fists. His body couldn't stop trembling slightly. The other members of the Condor team also lowered their heads to show their respect to Jiang Tian. They had to show their goodwill to Jiang Tian because Jiang Tian had killed Qin Shuejiao, which meant that he was an enemy of the Condor team. If they didn't show their goodwill, Jiang Tian might kill them as well to eliminate all future troubles. Go. Jiang Tian nodded slightly. He couldn't be bothered to kill Qin Zongheng and the others. They were just a bunch of ants. Master Kong, don't worry. Qin Zongheng looked fearful. He quickly added, Qin Shuejiao died in the battle between you and the Japanese. She was accidentally killed by the Japanese. I will report the truth. The other members of the Condor team nodded in agreement. Jiang Tian was slightly stunned when he saw this. After that, he smiled in a carefree manner and said, although I am not afraid of the White Emperor City, you have avoided some unnecessary trouble by dealing with it like this. Very good, you're very smart. Master Kong, you flatter me. Qin Zongheng let out a long sigh. He bowed respectfully again. I didn't recognize your face and offended you with my words. Please forgive me, Master Kong. No problem. Jiang Tian waved his hand. Qin Zongheng and the others quickly took Chen Shuajiao's body, exited the Great East Asia, and boarded the Guowei. On the Guowei, Qin Zongheng's face was grave. He thought about what to say, and finally used the satellite phone to report the situation to Beidasheng. Of course, he did cover up Chen Shuajiao's death for Jiang Tian as he said. Beidasheng's reaction was very calm. Qin Zongheng did not know what Beidasheng was thinking. Beidasheng's thoughts had always been hard to grasp. After hanging up the phone, Qin Zongheng sat there and looked at the monotonous sea view outside the porthole. He was in a daze for a long time. Young Master Qin, young Master Beidasheng wants you to report back to the Condor team headquarters in Beijing. A team member knocked on the door and entered. I'm not going back. Qin Zongheng said calmly. Young Master Qin, what did you say? The team member was shocked and could not believe his ears. Qin Zongheng was a die-hard fan of Beidasheng. He had always obeyed him. Was he going to defy him? Help me pass on a message. I'm not going back to Beijing for the time being. I'm going to Wudang Mountain for seclusion. Qin Zongheng sighed dejectedly. After this mission, he finally understood the huge gap between him and a true overlord. He suddenly felt that the goals and blueprints that White Emperor City had created, which had once made his blood boil, were tasteless when compared to Jiang Tian's heaven-defying cultivation. He might be able to reach 1/10 of Kang Teichu's combat power after 8 to 10 years of seclusion. Chapter 410. In fact, Jiang Tian had left some leeway, so Ishii Yulian was only unconscious for 10 minutes. When she woke up, she immediately crawled on the ground and kowtowed to Jiang Tian. Master Kong, Ishii Yulian surrenders, please spare my life. I am willing to follow Master Kong for the rest of my life. I will not hesitate to go through fire and water. Her heart was filled with shock and fear. Even if Nagaki Miyamoto, Hanzo Hattori, and herself, the three masters of Nomiya Shrine attacked Kang Teichu together, he killed them with a wave of his hand. This kind of strength was too terrifying. He had obviously shown mercy just now. It was just a wave of his sleeve. If he had used his full strength, how could he still be alive? Most likely, he would have already been beaten to a pulp. Thinking of this, Ishii Yulian's heart skipped a beat. She lowered her head even more, and her forehead touched the deck. Do you know why I didn't kill you? Jiang Tian stood with his hands behind his back, bathed in the starlight, facing the sea breeze, his clothes fluttering. In the eyes of many Japanese masters, he was like an immortal. This. Ishii doesn't dare to guess Master Kang's intentions. The Queen of Japan's underground world couldn't help but tremble violently. She lowered her head, not daring to meet Jiang Tian's eyes. Although I am unrestrained and invincible in my life, I am not willing to endanger my country and harm the interests of the country and people. I will take responsibility for the Great Mountain incident. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with a trace of darkness, and said lightly, let the Japanese government admit and announce to the world that I have been handed over to Japan and have been executed. This incident has nothing to do with Hua Xia. This. Don't worry, I can definitely do it. Ishii Yulian was surprised and surprised. In her opinion, an expert like Jiang Tian was like a god, detached from the world. Countries and people should be very illusory concepts in his mind. She didn't expect him to still care about Hua Xia's interests at this level. Go and do it. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and walked into a cabin. He sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. Ishii Mitsuhika immediately contacted the upper echelons of Nomiya Shrine and the Sakura Kai. According to the report, Kang Teichu has been handed over and successfully killed, but unfortunately, Nagaki Miyamoto and Hanzo Hattori died in the battle. The Japanese upper-class society rejoiced when they received the news. The royal family, the Sakura Society, many shrines, high-ranking military and political officials, and tycoons were celebrating. Kang Teichu. The number 1 Grandmaster on Huaxia's Divine Ranking List, the number 3 on the world's Dark Ranking List, the number 1 man on the Divine Ranking List, the number 3 man on the world's Dark Ranking List, the number 1 man on the Divine Ranking List, the number 1 man on the world's Dark Ranking List, the number 1 man on the Dark Ranking List, the number 1 man on the Dark Ranking List, the number 1 man on the Dark Ranking List, the number 1 man on the Dark Ranking List, the number 1 man on the Dark Ranking List. How domineering was that? It can be said that in Huaxia, Southeast Asia, South Korea, Japan, and the whole of East Asia, they can be considered top-notch experts. But now, they had finally been eliminated by the Japanese martial arts world. This was a great boost to their country's prestige. The upper echelons of the Sakura Society issued an order to Ishii Yurin. Yamaguchi-gumi was responsible for bringing Kang Taechu's body back to Japan and handing it over to Nomiya Shrine. Next, the top scientific teams of Tokyo University, Waseda University, and Imperial University will conduct cutting-edge research on him. It can be said that in the Japanese cultivation world, Kang Taechu is very mysterious and powerful. He is like a sophisticated weapon, and many teams are studying him. Many people thought that Kang Taechu is a Superman who achieved human evolution due to genetic mutation. Now, Kang Taechu is cut into pieces and studied carefully. The Japanese Prime Minister immediately held a press conference on TV and announced that the Great Mountain incident had been handled appropriately. This incident was the personal action of a citizen of Huaxia with the surname Jiang. It had nothing to do with the Huaxia government. And this citizen had been sent to Japan with the cooperation of the Huaxia government. Unfortunately, this citizen jumped into the sea to escape punishment during the deportation process and unfortunately drowned. In the eyes of the secular world, this news was just a small territorial dispute. When they finished reading the news, they quickly forgot about it. But in the dark world, the news was like a stone that stirred up 1,000 waves. The world was in an uproar. Many people couldn't believe it, and the dark net was boiling. Immortal State Warrior, a giant of a generation, Kang Taechu has fallen. On the Darknet forum, the title of this news was bolded and red, and it was pinned by the administrator, shocking many people. What? Kang Taechu has fallen. Where did the news come from? Since the battle with Russia's Qiao Bin at Moling Lake in Jinling, there has been no news of Kang Taechu for 3 months. Someone asked in shock. Yeah. How could Kang Taechu have fallen? He has never been defeated since his debut. An expert couldn't believe it. According to the news I received, the Great Mountain incident was Kang Taechu's doing. The Japanese Maritime Security Agency lost a few patrol ships and hundreds of people were killed or injured. They asked the Huaxia officials for an explanation. In the end, the Huaxia Condor Group handed Kang Taechu to the Japanese Nomiya Shrine. In the end, many experts besieged Kang Taechu on Nomiya Shrine's Great Dongya and assassinated him. Someone who knew the inside story explained. Who can kill Kang Taechu? He is a half-step immortal state warrior. Some people were unwilling to accept it emotionally. Do you think the Japanese overlords are useless? In the Nomiya Shrine, Hattori Hanzo is an immortal-level ninja, Nagaki Miyamoto is a kendo grand teacher, and the leader of the Yamaguchi-gumi, Ishii Yurin. They all have the strength of an immortal state warrior. They attacked Kang Taechu together and had the home advantage. How many nails can Kang Taechu crush? An overlord analyzed. The forum was silent. For a full 3 minutes, there was no movement at all. Many overlords and tycoons had different feelings. They were surprised, shocked, regretful, fearful, gloating, and all kinds of emotions. There were many people who felt regretful. At the beginning of modern times, science and technology were booming and in the ascendant. Guns, cannons, missiles, and other firearms emerged and became popular. The cultivation world gradually fell into a disadvantage. Ordinary martial arts grandmasters could walk on water and hurt people from a distance. So what? So what if they could form chi righteousness and block the shot of small caliber firearms? An ordinary person with no cultivation could kill an experienced martial arts grandmaster with a sniper rifle equipped with armor-piercing bullets and incendiary bullets from a few kilometers away. It took a lot of effort and countless resources to train a martial arts grandmaster. How expensive was the price? However, a sniper rifle could be bought on the black market for less than 10,000 yuan. Compared to that, what was the point of cultivation? In particular, the appearance of nuclear weapons with destructive power had shocked many cultivators, causing them to tremble in fear. They either kept a low profile and did not dare to stir up trouble again, or they chose to cooperate with the government and become the thugs and killing gods of the superpowers' governments. However, Kang Tae-chu's rise in recent years gave people a glimmer of hope. This overlord might be qualified to challenge the superpowers in the world. After all, he had even taken over the Chinese society of Qing State and forced the Prime Minister of Qing State to submit. Moreover, there was a secret rumor that Kang Tae-chu had taken control of the South Korean Tanjun faction and made the South Korean government worship him. At this rate, Kang Tae-chu might have the strength to challenge the superpowers in 20 years. When that time came, the dark overlords around the world would rise again. But now, Kang Tae-chu was dead. Their last glimmer of hope had been destroyed. How could they not sigh? How could they not feel heavy-hearted? Tonight, the giants fell, the stars fell, and the twilight of the gods descended. This is a sleepless night for the entire dark world. Someone sighed with emotion. However, the leader of the Tombstone organization suddenly said, Kang Tae-chu deserved it. He was too arrogant after all. How dare he provoke Japan? Even immortal state warriors do not have the strength to challenge the superpowers in the world. After all, how many immortal state warriors do all the superpowers in the world live in seclusion? I didn't expect Kang Tae-chu to die before he encountered a large-scale thermal weapon. This is so satisfying. The leader of the butterfly skeleton also happily posted, the Condor team, Nomiya Shrine, and the Sakura Society have done a good job. Arrogant people like Jiang Taichu who have swept across the world should be suppressed in blood. Now, can we go to Huaxia and wipe out Kang Taechu's remaining forces? Without Kang Taechu, Huaxia is like entering and exiting a no-man's land. What a vast market this is. The spokesperson of the Blood Totem said, no matter how you look at it, the Blood Totem has always been an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. We are ready to take action. 18 Duke-level Blood Guards have already gone straight to Huaxia and will carry out a bloody massacre on Kang Taechu's remaining forces. It is said that Kang Tae-chu has a Heaven Alliance organization in Huaxia. It is said that it is composed of transcendent masters. However, without Kang Tae-chu, the Heaven Alliance is like a toothless tiger, weak as hell. In the beginning, there were people who refuted these remarks. After all, Kang Tae-chu was a powerhouse in the Dark World, an outstanding representative, and the first Dark World powerhouse in recent years to obtain a respected status in the light of the sun. No one should kick him when he is down. However, a sentence from the North American Sky Eye assassin organization ignited everyone's greed. Since the rise of Kang Tae-chu, he has been pillaging Huaxia, Singapore, and South Korea. Do you know how many heavenly materials and earthly treasures he has? A few kilograms of gold was enough to make people lose their minds and kill for money, not to mention the cultivation resources that were even more precious than gold. For a moment, many overlords were tempted. They should at least go to Huaxia to take a look and fish in troubled waters. Who knows, they might be able to get something out of it. Big Circle, on the other hand, took action upon hearing the news. They no longer issued hidden bounties, but openly issued open bounties. In a secret base on Big Turtle Island. The boss of the Big Circle, sixth old man Fan gulped down a glass of Lao Baigan, slammed the table and shouted, "Good! Good! Kang Tae-chu is finally dead. I can finally see the light of day again," he said drunkenly to Xiao Wu, the person in charge of the North America region. Announce on the dark roll immediately. 500 million USD, no. There's a reward of 1 billion USD for anyone who can kill Jiang Taichu's remaining henchmen. Chapter 411. Some were happy while others were sad. These organizations and giants were all ruthlessly beaten and cleaned up by Jiang Tian during the bloodbath in Jinling. They had always hated Kang Taichu in their hearts, but there was nothing they could do about it. Now that they heard of Jiang Taichu's death, they could be said to be celebrating and in high spirits. Moreover, they were eager to make a move and fought to be the first to sneak into Huaxia to attack Jiang Tian's forces and wash away the humiliation from back then. Master Kang, may I come in? A few hours later, Ishii Yulian asked respectfully at Jiang Tian's door. Come in. Jiang Tian opened his eyes and slowly exhaled a white breath as he nodded slightly. Master Kang, the Japanese officials have released a statement. Ishii Yulian walked in and bowed at Jiang Tian's feet. At this time, she had changed into a white kimono with pink flowers, which made her breasts even more prominent. Her waist was slender, and when she bowed, she revealed a snow-white and slender neck, which made people daydream. Her waist and buttocks also revealed a perfectly round arc, which was extremely tempting. Ishii Yulian reported the relevant situation and then said, Master Kang, what should we do next? Take them by surprise and attack them when they are unprepared. Naturally, we should wipe out the Sakura Kai and the 4 great shrines in one fell swoop. Jiang Tian sat cross-legged on the sofa, calmly sipping his fragrant tea, and said with a calm expression. His tone was so relaxed that it was as if he was facing a group of ants instead of a behemoth ranked in the top 10 of the world's strongest organizations. Hearing this, Ishii Yulian's delicate body suddenly trembled, and her beautiful face became as pale as paper. She said with a trembling voice, Master Kang, I know that your cultivation is strong, but do you know what kind of terrifying existence the Sakura Kai is? Tell me. Jiang Tian said lightly. The Cherry Blossom Society was established during the Meiji Restoration. It has a history of several hundred years. A look of deep fear appeared on Ishii Yuran's face as he said, they are directly responsible to the Japanese royal family, and they have the sword sage Ryutaro Momoi as their president, King Aoki, Sasaki Kaisha, and many other god-tier ninjas and kendo masters. In addition, many top financial groups such as Mitsui will provide financial support. Especially since they have Kumo Yunwen, Onpei Jipping, and Onpei Hiroshi, 4 top onmyojis. Their onmyojis are unfathomable. Each of the 4 onmyojis is in charge of a shrine, and each shrine has 3 shikigami. These shikigami have been worshipped and worshipped by hundreds of millions of people in Japan since the Heian era. After hundreds of years of history, they have formed an enormous amount of spiritual power, and each shikigami is stronger than an immortal. Ampere Clear Kong and Hattori Hanzo, whom you encountered in South Korea's Tanjun sect, are only the weakest of the 4 shrines, Nozomiya Shrine, in the secular world. You can imagine how powerful the Cherry Blossom Society and the other shrines are. Do you mean that I am not a match for the Cherry Blossom Society? Jiang Tian looked at her with a faint smile. Ishii Yuran's body trembled slightly, and she shook her head with a pale face. Master Kang, that's not what I meant, it's just that, she hemmed and hawed, wanting to say something but hesitating. What? Tell me, I won't eat you. Grandmaster Jiang, your magic power is as high as the heavens. I admire you very much, but why do we have to look for trouble? Ishii Yulian crawled in front of Jiang Tian, his plump chest pressed against Jiang Tian's calf. He looked up at Jiang Tian's charming face and said in a sorrowful voice, Master Kang, I have tens of billions of USD in the Swiss bank. I can give it all to you. We can buy an island in the Pacific Ocean and live a carefree life. No one will disturb us. I have made up my mind. Jiang Tian said, if you are willing to follow me and be my guide. After I take over the Cherry Blossom Society, you will be the president. If you are not willing, you can leave after I set foot in Japan. None of this has anything to do with you. What? Master is willing to let me be the president of the Cherry Blossom Society? Ishii Yuran couldn't believe her ears. The president of the Cherry Blossom Society was extremely prestigious. Mitsui, Sumitomo, Mitsubishi, Yasuda and many other tycoons worshipped him and gave him billions of assets. He was the leader of many kendo, ninja and onmyoji sects in Japan. He could sit on the same level as the Prime Minister of Japan and was second only to the Emperor of Japan. Needless to say, this was a great temptation for Ishii Yurin. Of course, it was also very risky. I will give you 1 minute to think about it. Jiang Tian slowly closed his eyes and continued to meditate cross-legged. I am willing. Ishii Yurin was indeed the queen of Japan's underground world. It only took her 5 seconds to think before she agreed. She was like a kitten in heat. She wiggled her voluptuous body and jumped into Jiang Tian's arms. Her red lips moved to Jiang Tian's ear and said, Master Kong, Ishii Yurin will never forget your kindness. Tonight, I am willing to give you everything I have to serve you. Forget it. Jiang Tian gently pushed her away. His face was expressionless as he said in an indifferent tone, I already have a wife. Ishii Yurin was startled and couldn't believe it. She had practiced the yin-yang arts seduction technique and was extremely seductive. Normally, she didn't need to offer her body at all. She only needed to throw a look and those celebrities, politicians, and tycoons would listen to her without any resistance. But she didn't expect Jiang Tian to reject her. Her charming eyes flashed with a trace of dimness as she softly said, Then Grandmaster Jiang, you should rest. The sky turned white as the sun rose, sprinkling down thousands of golden rays and plating the undulating sea with a layer of gold. Gunshot. What a powerful aura. Suddenly, Jiang Tian opened his eyes and his heart skipped a beat. He immediately opened the cabin door and came to the deck and looked into the distance. In the sea 20 nautical miles away, a young man in black was standing on the back of a huge blue whale about 10 meters long. Like a whistling arrow, he rushed toward a fleet of 7 or 8 ships. The young man was about 17 or 18 years old. He wore a greasy black robe and carried a broken iron sword on his back. His shoulder-length hair was tied into a bun and there was a bamboo chopstick stuck in it. The blue whale swam extremely fast, bobbing up and down, but he stood there as if his feet were rooted to the ground. His body was as straight as a javelin, but also like an unsheathed sword. He looked sloppy, but at the same time, he gave off a strange feeling of sharpness. His skin was dark, but healthy and clean. His sword-like eyebrows slanted to his temples. His pair of long and narrow eyes were filled with a playful smile. He pursed his thin lips and looked fearless. Master Kong, this is a whaling ship from Japan. Don't worry, they won't dare to hurt us. Ishii Yurin quickly walked over and observed with a pair of high-powered binoculars before respectfully reporting. Don't talk. Jiang Tian waved his hand and looked at the young man with a serious expression. He felt a very powerful aura from the young man. This kind of aura was far more condensed and refined than the true chi of a martial artist. It was only one step away from the true essence of the cultivation world. As for ninja and the sword aura of Japanese kendo, they were worlds apart and could not be compared at all. He's not a martial artist, but a different kind of cultivator. Could it be that he's a member of the legendary hidden sect? Jiang Tian muttered with interest. With the blue whale swimming at high speed, the young man was soon only a few hundred meters away from the nearest whaling ship. At that moment, his body shot out like a whistling arrow and crossed a distance of 200 meters in an instant. The tip of his foot tapped on the undulating waves, and his body rose up again like a nimble swallow. He landed on the whaling ship in an instant. He pulled out his broken iron sword and swaggered over, killing more than a dozen crew members as if he were cutting vegetables. He held a minke whale that was at least a few hundred kilograms and put it in the sea. Then he clapped his hands and pounced on another whaling ship. In just 10 minutes, more than 100 crew members on the 8 whaling ships were all killed by Dugu Shao. He also put more than a dozen whales into the sea, but unfortunately, 3 of them were already dead. Dugu Shao had lived in a mysterious small world in the Hengduan Mountains since he was young. He spent all his time training, until he was 18 years old. All he saw were grandmasters, masters, uncles, seniors, juniors, and a bunch of rough men. He did not even know that women existed in the world. Until one day, he stole a smartphone from his master. That was when he opened the door to a new world. It turned out that there was such a wonderful world outside the Sky River Ridge of the Hengduan Mountains. There were skyscrapers, cars, televisions, computers, planes, trains, guns, missiles, and even women. His master always said that he was picked up from a latrine pit, but in fact, he was born from a woman. Dugu Xiao did not take the phone for himself. Instead, he quietly put the smartphone back. He was a man with dreams. He would never be satisfied with understanding the world through a phone. He wanted to be in close contact with and experience the wonderful life outside the mountains. He wanted to go down the mountain. He wanted to run away. So, he flipped through many of his master's books. After some indirect analysis, coupled with his amazing perception and good luck, he finally figured out the method to open his master's forbidden array. A few days ago, he finally sneaked down the mountain. That night, he took the train to Zhonghai City. His first stop was a bar. He saw a lot of scantily dressed women. After drinking 3 bottles of Maotai, he felt dizzy. He turned around and left in a cool manner. He was beaten up badly by the bar's security guards. He was from his master's sect. The sect rules were very strict. He would never kill a nobody. Only then did he know that if he wanted something in this world, he had to pay with cash. The price of blood. Chapter 412. The next day, he snatched an off-road vehicle and sped through the downtown area, hitting 3 cars and causing a small car accident. When the police arrived, he ran away. How could the police be faster than him? At that time, the shocked police officers scolded him. "Little punk, you run faster than an F1 car. What's the use of snatching someone's car? What's the use of it? Yeah, he runs so fast. He's going to the Olympics to win glory for the country. If he goes, Lu Xiang will have nothing to do with him." Several police officers thought so. The next night, he robbed a robber who had just robbed someone else and got a few thousand yuan. Without an ID card, he spent the night in an illegal internet cafe and ate a bowl of Laotan pickled cabbage beef noodles extravagantly. He even added 2 grilled sausages and ordered a bottle of iced black tea. His purpose of going online was, of course, good. He wanted to know more about this wonderful world. While he was surfing the internet in this internet cafe, he saw a documentary called Dolphin Bay on a video website. This documentary showed the story of Taiji in Gashan County, Japan, where the blue sea turned scarlet due to the killing of dolphins and whales. Dugu Xiao, who had always loved small animals, choked and cried like a child who had lost his favorite toy. Such a big fish and such a cute little animal. How could these Japanese bear to kill them? How despicable. Dugu Xiao's tears and a long string of snot fell into the bowl of noodles. He didn't know whether to throw it away or eat it. It was very awkward. In the morning, Dugu Xiao used the remaining few hundred yuan to buy a second-hand smartphone. He went to the seaside and hired a broken fishing boat to search for a whaling ship. However, this fishing boat didn't have the ability to sail long distances. After dozens of nautical miles, the captain asked to return. Dugu Xiao was very helpless. However, he found a blue whale and quickly tamed it with his fists. He waved his hand to let the stunned captain return. He rode the blue whale all the way to find a whaling ship. Boring. What should I do next? Dugu Xiao found a bottle of beer and some dry rations in the cabin. He ate and drank in large mouthfuls as he looked at the boundless sea in boredom. Why don't we go to Japan and have some fun? According to those movies, the women there are very open. You can even see them on the tram. Dugu Xiao chuckled, as if he had finally found a goal in life. The next moment, he slapped himself hard and said coldly, No, I should challenge Miyamoto Geniki of the Japanese Sword God Palace. According to my master, Miyamoto Geniki once went to Huaxia to challenge him and killed many people from his sect. He ran excitedly to the cockpit and, after a flurry of maneuvering, finally got the fishing boat started. However, the most depressing thing was that he couldn't understand the navigation chart. There were also many navigation instruments that he didn't understand. Drive to the east. You can't go wrong. Look at the direction of the sun. Dugu Xiao pondered for a while and finally nodded. Drive east. You're already in America. If you want to go to Japan, you should go northeast. Why don't I take you there? Suddenly, a gentle voice rang out behind him. Dugu Xiao was so shocked that his whole body tensed up and his soul almost flew out of his body. His spiritual perception was very strong and was the best in the entire sect. He could suppress many of his senior brothers and uncles. Even his master was inferior to him. Even the slightest sound within a radius of 5 miles could not escape his ears. However, the other party had approached him silently. He was obviously an expert. In an instant, he turned his head abruptly. The aura in his body rose steadily and gathered in the palm of his hand. He immediately looked at the young man in white and said angrily, "Who are you? Who let you in? This is not your boat. If you can enter, why can't I?" Jiang Tian said with a smile. "Get out. If you don't get out, I'll beat you up." Dugu Xiao gnashed his teeth and said fiercely, "See? I killed all the people on this boat. The people on the other boats were also killed by me. I'm a baddie who kills without batting an eye. Then you can try." Jiang Tian looked at him with interest, wanting to test the strength of the people from the Yin sect. Whoosh! Dugu Xiao stomped his feet on the ground, and the entire ship trembled slightly, as if it was going to fall apart. His figure had already shot out like an arrow, and his fist smashed towards Jiang Tian's chest with a strange whistling sound. Good! Jiang Tian praised, and met the attack with a punch. With a muffled bang, the two fists collided. Like a grenade explosion, the air billowed in all directions. Boom! Boom! Half of the cockpit was blown apart by the violent wind from the punch as if it had been bombarded by a cannonball. Jiang Tian had just used 80% of the cultivation of the Gengjin divine body. His fist was like steel, but he could still feel the pain. He sighed in his heart. This kid's cultivation was so strong that his punch could definitely break a stone. His strength should be half a step away from the immortal state. He might even be in the early stages of the immortal state. He was far stronger than Xiao Bin and Wang Chongyan. Even Yi Zhantian was slightly weaker than him. For an 18-year-old boy to have such a terrifying cultivation, it seemed that the people of the Yin sect did have some tricks up their sleeves. Dugu Xiao, on the other hand, was sent flying with a whoosh. He broke through the cockpit and fell into the sea. However, with a flick of his fingers, 2 streams of air shot out from his fingertips and coiled around the side of the ship like flexible tentacles. After that, his body was lifted up and landed on the deck again. He looked at Jiang Tian in shock and despair. "Who are you? Which Yin sect are you from? How can you defeat the little genius Dugu Xiao?" Dugu Xiao was shocked and looked at Jiang Tian with fear and vigilance. Master once said that the people of the Yin sect disregarded the law. They went around robbing treasures and killing people for their treasures. Is this person trying to kill me for my treasures? But I went down the mountain empty-handed. Maybe he wants to force me to tell him the location of Langyi Academy. Is he here to rob me? Oh, so your name is Dugu Xiao. Does that mean you're from the Yin sect? Jiang Tian smiled. I can't believe I said my name. Dugu Xiao hurriedly covered his mouth and stared at Jiang Tian. He waited for a while before he said in a cute manner. Do you think I will tell you that I am from the Yin sect? Gah. I think I accidentally said it again. However, I will never tell you that my sect is in the Hengduan Mountains. Gah. I accidentally said it again. Then I will tell you that I am from the secular world and have nothing to do with the Yin sect. Can you tell me the name of your sect? Jiang Tian smiled. Are the martial artists in the secular world so powerful? How is that possible? You must be lying to me. Dugu Xiao said proudly and disdainfully, do you think that I am stupid because I have never been to the secular world? You are wrong. My IQ is very high. I just did an IQ test online the day before yesterday. I am Kang Te Chu, number 1 on the Master God list and number 3 on the World Dark Roll. I am the State Preceptor of Singapore and also the leader of the Heavenly Alliance. Have you never heard of my name? Jiang Tian stood with his hands behind his back and raised his eyebrows. He was even more arrogant and disdainful. I have never heard of you. Master God list. What is the Dark Roll? Is it a school exam ranking? Dugu Xiao thought carefully and asked seriously as he stared at Jiang Tian with his bright eyes. His words hit Jiang Tian so hard that he wanted to cry but had no tears. This guy was clearly a naive and ignorant fool. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. Do you want to go to Japan with me? I also want to challenge the Dongyang Sword God. Jiang Tian smiled and sent out an invitation. Jiang Tian had lived 2 lives and had lived for 10,000 years in his previous life. He had seen countless people. He could tell at a glance that Dugu Xiao had a pure and kind heart and was someone worth befriending. It was good to have more friends in the hidden sect. My master said that one should not harm others but guard against others. What if you want to harm me? Dugu Xiao looked at Jiang Tian warily. What's the point of killing you? You have a total of $200 on you, and a broken sword that you made with iron sheet. What is there for me to snatch? Jiang Tian said with a lazy smile. Dugu Xiao's face turned red. He rubbed his chin and hesitated for half a minute before he looked up and said, All right, I have nothing to do anyway. I will go with you. But don't even think about harming me. I am very powerful. I only used 30% of my strength just now. You used all your strength, okay? That's all you have. Jiang Tian snickered in his heart but was too lazy to expose him. He smiled and said, Let's go. Follow me to that big ship. There are all kinds of delicacies, wine, and beauties on it. I guarantee 5-star treatment. At this moment, the great Dongya had already arrived. Dugu Xiao looked over and said in astonishment, A Japanese ship. You have a relationship with the Japanese? Just like you, I also snatched this ship. Jiang Tian stepped on the air and his body was as vigorous as a dragon. He crossed 500 meters and landed on the deck of the great Dongya with a whoosh. Show off? What are you showing off for? Do you think I don't have this kind of movement technique? Dugu Xiao pursed his lips and muttered in a very black-bellied manner. Seeing Jiang Tian looking at him from the opposite side, he deliberately showed off his martial arts. He stood with his hands behind his back and his feet stepped on the ground. He stepped on the air as if he was walking on flat ground. His body floated straight towards the great Dongya. The sea breeze blew and Dugu Xiao's black robe fluttered in the air. The hem of his robe fluttered like a flag. The black hair hanging on his cheeks also fluttered. His starry eyes were like lightning. His lips were like knives. His eyebrows were slightly raised. He was extremely handsome and flirtatious. Ishii Yulian looked at him with reverence and asked Jiang Tian, Master Kong, is this young man an expert? Yes. This movement technique is not inferior to Qiao Bin, Wang Chongyan, and Yi Zhantian of the older generation. Jiang Tian nodded in approval. He was only 1 meter away from the great Dongya. But suddenly, his breath and strength were exhausted. His body tilted and with a splash, he fell into the water. Idiot! Jiang Tian held his forehead and said helplessly. Pfft! Ishii Yulian at the side laughed out loud. She covered her small mouth and was extremely charming. Actually, if I want to use my martial arts again, I can cross 500 meters. Do you believe me, Kang Taechu? Dugu Xiao jumped onto the deck, his whole body drenched. He shivered as he looked at Jiang Tian with a serious expression. Chapter 4:13. I believe you. I believe you too much. A young man riding a whale. You are very strong and very coquettish. Jiang Tian nodded seriously. I'm not riding a whale, I'm standing on it. I've been standing on a plum blossom pile for 3 years. Dugu Xiao corrected seriously. Mr. Dugu, change your clothes. I'll help you wash them and dry them. Ishii Yu Yen walked up gracefully and said. No need. I can do it myself. Dugu Xiao's face turned red as he avoided Ishii Yu Yen's gaze and quickly waved his hand. He activated his cultivation technique, and his body immediately emitted wisps of white mist. Very quickly, his clothes were evaporated. What's the name of your cultivation technique? Is it a martial artist's true chi? Jiang Tian asked curiously. I don't know. In short, it can be used to fight and kill. My master said it's still true chi, but it's more condensed than a martial artist's true chi. Isn't it powerful? Dugu Xiao touched his black robe and found that it was completely dry. He smiled proudly. Then what's your cultivation level now? Jiang Tian pulled him into the cabin and asked Ishii Yu Yen to prepare the food. I don't know, what's your cultivation technique called? I don't know. My master taught me, so I learned it. My master said it's the second foundation cultivation technique. Dugu Xiao simply didn't know anything, making Jiang Tian speechless. Why don't you call it the third foundation cultivation technique? This name isn't domineering at all. Think about it, when others use Raging Sea Sword Art or Nitten First Class Profound Art, Sacrificing Blade, you throw out a punch and shout, second foundation cultivation technique. Very funny. Damn, this fish isn't cooked yet. How can you eat it? This is too barbaric. Aren't you afraid of diarrhea? This is called sashimi. Dip it in wasabi and soy sauce. This is the way to eat it. Jiang Tian really wanted to slap him. Oh, this is wasabi. Let me try. Dugu Xiao picked up a piece of sashimi, dipped it in a large amount of mustard, and hurriedly stuffed it into his mouth. Stop it. Jiang Tian couldn't stop him. He could only look at him sympathetically. Why are you looking at me like that? Dugu Xiao looked at Jiang Tian in confusion. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and gasped for air. His tears and snot flowed out together. He also had a feeling of difficulty breathing and his heart constricted. Fuck, this fish is poisonous. Kang Taechu, you actually wanted to harm me. To think that I trusted you so much. Gudu Xiao glared at Jiang Tian with resentment. Can you be more mature? Mustard is very pungent. That's the taste. You can't eat it. Don't eat so much. Have a drink. Jiang Tian wanted to slap him to death. Is that so? Gudu Xiao's face turned red. He knew that he had made a fool of himself due to his lack of experience. He hurriedly picked up the glass of fruit juice and gulped it down. He was finally done. He smiled awkwardly and said, Why didn't you tell me earlier? Wouldn't I know if you told me earlier? It really feels like poison. It tastes similar to the 5 steps intestine-shattering powder. Who knew that you were so inexperienced? You haven't even eaten mustard or sashimi before. Jiang Tian rolled his eyes at him. If you say that again, I'll get angry with you. I'm not going to play with you anymore. Dugu Xiao stood up angrily and turned to leave. Jiang Tian did not stop him. Those fishing boats had already been thrown dozens of nautical miles away. His blue whale had also swam away. If you have the guts, fly over there. Not long later, Dugu Xiao came back with a dejected face. He sat down on the sofa and looked at Jiang Tian with resentment. Humph, I've boarded a pirate ship this time. You're simply too hateful. Since you're already here, take it easy. Whale riding youth, let's enjoy our trip to Japan together. Jiang Tian said with a chuckle. I'm not riding, I'm standing. Why do I feel like you're mocking me? It's as if I'm riding a pig. That's the plum blossom pile footwork. Are you as stable as me? Du Guxiao corrected him angrily. Not bad, not bad. Very stable. Jiang Tian said with a smile. How many days have you been out? Does your sect know? Do you want to make a phone call to tell them that you're safe? If I make a phone call, my master will definitely catch me and beat me up. Du Guxiao said with a frightened face. You're just telling them that you're safe. You don't have to tell them your location. How can they catch you? Don't let your family worry. Jiang Tian said. That's the reason. My master said that no one from my sect has left the mountain for 20 years. Moreover, they always thought that I didn't have the ability to break the mountain gate's sealing array. They might think that I've gone missing and be very worried. Du Guxiao frowned and said with distress, but my phone has no signal now. I must have bought a fake phone. It's not a fake phone. There's no signal here. Jiang Tian was speechless. Why is there no signal? There's always signal outside. I even went online. Du Guxiao asked curiously. Do you know of a device called a signal base station? Jiang Tian helplessly explained for 10 minutes. Du Guxiao nodded his head. I understand. But I can't make a phone call. You can make a call. Use a satellite phone. Jiang Tian put his hand into his pocket and pretended to search for something. He took out a satellite phone from his storage ring and handed it over. Brother Dugu, how can a satellite phone connect? Du Guxiao asked curiously. Don't call me Brother Dugu. I'm not a Brother Dugu. Jiang Tian was speechless and explained for another 10 minutes. So that's the case. Brother Dugu, you're so knowledgeable. Du Guxiao gave a thumbs up and praised seriously. It seemed that Du Guxiao wasn't completely ignorant of the ways of the world. Sometimes, he would also flatter others. Jiang Tian sighed helplessly and waved his hand. All right, hurry up and call your master. A moment later, the phone was connected. Du Guxiao and his master chatted for a while, deeply reflecting on his wrongdoings of leaving the sect without permission. Then, he smiled and said, Master, don't worry. I'm with Kang Tae-chu. We're going to Japan to kill the origin of the Japanese sword god Palace. Kang Tae-chu. His master's tone was a little serious. Give the phone to Master Kang. I'll talk to him. Jiang Tian took the phone and hurriedly said, Senior, do you have any instructions? I wouldn't dare. Mr. Jiang is known as the #1 master on the divine list. He's a top master in the secular world. I'm Dugu Qingmu from Langyi Academy. Everyone calls me Taoist Qingmu. Hee hee. The other party introduced himself and looked very humble. Oh, so it's Taoist Qingmu. It's an honor to meet you. Jiang Tian never knew what the Langyi Academy was, but he still replied politely. After all, it was normal to be polite. Dugu Qingmu chuckled and said, You're really not dead. I thought you were dead. I saw some news on the dark web. Oh. That. I'm talking to the Japanese mainly to let them release a statement that the Great Mountain incident has nothing to do with Huaxia's officials. Jiang Tian explained. Oh, I see. Master Kang, this is the first time Du Guxiao has been to the secular world. He's very innocent. Please guide and take care of him. Dugu Qingmu said very politely. You're welcome. It's nothing. Actually, his cultivation is not bad. I also admire him. Jiang Tian said politely. Oh, you can give the phone to Du Guxiao. Dugu Qingmu said. Jiang Tian handed the phone to Dugu Xiao. Dugu Qingmu said seriously, "Ah Xiao, this Master Kong is an expert. Although he's from the secular world, his cultivation is much higher than most of the people in the hidden sects. You must respect him and not be rude." "Master, I understand." Dugu Xiao agreed verbally, but he still glared at Jiang Tian unhappily. "Didn't you say that we're in the top 10 in the hidden sects and that the strongest person in the secular world is no match for us?" "Ah Xiao, is the outside world fun?" Dugu Qingmu's voice became more amiable. "Master, it's fun, but it's not like the love between brothers in the academy. It's not as simple as that. I even met robbers and whalers. The people there are very bad." Dugu Xiao's eyes suddenly turned red. Perhaps he was a little homesick. Come back quickly after going to East Asia for a while. The deadline is 1 month. If you exceed it, I'll beat you up when I come back." Dugu Qingmu's tone was still very amiable, but it scared Dugu Xiao so much that he trembled. "I definitely won't exceed the deadline. Don't worry." Dugu Xiao hurriedly promised. "Master Kong is very famous in the secular world. He's also a very nice person. You don't have to be guarded against him. You can tell him everything you know. Moreover, if he dominates Japan, it'll be very beneficial to Huaxia's martial arts world and even the hidden sections. You have to help him. Don't just eat, drink, and play. You'll ruin the reputation of our Langi Academy." Dugu Qingmu was still worried and asked, "Don't worry. Your grandfather was actually killed by Miyamoto Geniki. Your father was also seriously injured. Master, don't worry. I also want to spar with the experts in Japan. I heard that they have ninjas or something. They're very powerful." Dugu Xiao was suddenly interested. He patted his chest and said with exultation. However, he found that his master had already hung up the phone, which made Dugu Xiao feel a little disappointed. However, he was still a teenager after all. He quickly put this emotion to the back of his mind. This kid was like a curious baby. He kept asking Jiang Tian all kinds of questions. He kept calling him Brother Chu, which made Jiang Tian feel very helpless. "Jinling, Fulong Mountain Villa. Mistress, I saw news on the dark web that Mr. Jiang has fallen. Is this true?" Hua Qingtian, Zhao Yuankuan, Wei Feilong, and many other martial arts and sorcery experts gathered. They looked at Zhao Xueqing, who was sitting at the head of the table, with furrowed brows and solemn expressions. Ever since they became acquainted with Jiang Tian, they all obtained natural luck, their cultivation all increasing to different degrees. It could be said that Jiang Tian was their benefactor, a deity. Now that they heard this news, they all panicked. "This is fake news. Because an old friend of my husband's destroyed the Great Mountain and several other Japanese patrol ships around the Diaoyu Islands, it caused an uproar in Japan. Someone needed to take responsibility, and Jiang Tiankai stood up for her and was escorted to Japan." Zhao Xueqing had already received Jiang Tian's satellite phone call and said calmly. Chapter 414. Not long ago, my husband took control of Lord Tanjuan's faction in South Korea and killed a few elites from the Nomiya Shrine. Furthermore, the Sakura Society and the Jiang family of Jinlin City are mortal enemies. Therefore, the Japanese elite couldn't wait to give the order to act as soon as they took over my husband. Jiang Tian killed Hanzo Hattori and Nagaki Miyamoto, and captured Ishii Yurin, the leader of the Yamaguchi Gumi. In order to prevent the Huaxia government from being implicated, they had no choice but to let Ishii Yurin explain to the Japanese government. After Qing'er finished. "I see. Master Kong is not dead. That's great. Master Kong is so domineering. I can't believe he has taken control of the Tankuan faction. Even the president of South Korea has to bow down to him. Hanzo Hattori is a divine ninja and Nagaki Miyamoto is a kendo grand teacher. Both of them are as powerful as immortal state warriors. Even Ishii Yurin is Master Kang's prisoner. That's great. Raise the prestige of our country, raise the prestige of our country. If this news gets out, it will shake the world. Many of the people present let out a long sigh of relief. Then, they exclaimed excitedly one after another. However, Wei Feilong said seriously, Madam, since the Japanese government has already made an announcement, why don't Master Kong come back as soon as possible? If the Japanese overlords realize what is going on, there will be another massacre. What's there to be afraid of? Zhao Xueqing knew that he was a wise man, so she wasn't angry. A hint of pride appeared in her eyes as she smiled warmly and said, My husband went to Japan this time to destroy the Japanese cultivation world and kill the leader of the Sakura Society, Ryutaro Momoi and Genichi Miyamoto. He will be the shame of Hua Xia's martial arts world. What? Destroy the Sakura Society and kill Ryutaro Momoi and Genichi Miyamoto? Wei Feilong's body trembled as he heard this. He couldn't believe it and he felt uneasy. Grandmaster Jiang, this is... Everyone else sucked in a breath of cold air in unison. Their faces were incomparably shocked as they looked at each other in dismay. Japan did not have hidden factions like the hidden sections. The Cherry Blossoms Association could be said to be the culmination of Japan's cultivation world. They were extremely powerful and were like a country. The current Sword Saint, Sakura Blossom Society's president, Momoi Rutaru, was already very terrifying. However, the old Sword God Palace's origin Ichi was even more terrifying. He was the only remaining sword god in Japan and a legendary figure in the Japanese martial arts world. He was truly at the immortal state. It could also be one of the most powerful creatures on this planet. It was said that he hadn't fought for more than 60 years, but Nagaru Miyamoto and many other masters of kendo sects had received his guidance and worshipped him as a disciple. In the Japanese martial arts world, he was a legend. This was a myth. His status was equivalent to Hua Xia's guardian, Yi Tianren. Although Wang Chongyan was a grandmaster of the older generation, he had yet to step into the divine realm. Compared to him, the difference was too great. As for Yi Zhantian, Xiao Bin, and Lin Zhenyu, compared to him in terms of seniority, the difference in strength was even greater. Although Jiang Tian was very powerful, he had just stepped into the immortal state not long ago. He might even be half a step into the immortal state. It was hard to say who would win this battle. Hong Ye's hands trembled slightly. He frowned and said, Mistress, Master Kang's strength is earth-shattering. However, I heard that there are 4 major shrines in Japan. Each of them is guarded by a Onmyoji and a Shikigami. These Onmyoji's strength is not inferior to that of a Taoist master. If Master Kong goes in alone, he will be attacked from both sides. I'm afraid he won't be able to fight against so many. My husband has considered all these aspects. However, he is 100% confident. You don't have to worry. Zhao Xueqing nodded and smiled gently. What I'm worried about is that my husband and I have killed many people in Jinling. I'm afraid they will still hold a grudge against us. Will the news of my husband's death attract the attention of many powerful people in the dark world? It's very possible. These forces are all cruel, bloodthirsty, and ruthless people. At the same time, they value their reputation very much. I'm afraid that they will only be able to hold their heads high if they come to Jinling and cause trouble. Hua Qingtian's expression was solemn as he agreed. That's what I think too. I hope that everyone can lend a hand to the Jiang clan. Zhao Xueqing grabbed the top of the little monkey's head and smiled gently. However, my husband thinks that all of you are in a high position and have a big family. It's inconvenient for us to trouble you. He strictly ordered me not to disturb you. However, I still hope that if possible, you can send a few disciples to protect the Jiang family. Zhao Xueqing's words were very polite and appropriate. Everyone in the Heaven Alliance was touched. Mistress, you are too polite. Zhao Yuankuan patted his chest and said, during the bloodbath in Jinling, that old thief Qiao Bin happened to invade China. We were ordered to split up and chase after him. This bunch of Dark World bastards took advantage of us. How can we miss this opportunity? Yes, once you join the Heaven Alliance, you will be a Heaven Alliance member forever. It's our honor to be able to serve Master Kong. We will call our disciples over to guard the Jiang family strictly. These little bastards from the Dark World dare to target the Jiang family. They must be tired of living. Do they think that the Heaven Alliance is useless? Yes, this time, we must make sure that they don't return. We must wipe them out in Huaxia. Many of the Heavenly Alliance's members felt their blood boiling and their heroism soaring to the sky. They patted their chests loudly and rubbed their fists and palms with murderous intent. Yes, then let's discuss how to set up the defense. The Jiang family's business is very big now, and we really need a lot of people. Zhao Xueqing fed the little monkey a grape and nodded with satisfaction. After everyone finished discussing, they split up and took action. Zhao Xueqing called Wei Feilong over and smiled politely. Mr. Wei, how much do you know about the Condor team? Condor team? Wei Feilong had a deep fear on his face. He bowed and said, the Condor team has been developing rapidly in recent years. After he finished his introduction, Zhao Xueqing nodded and said, okay, you investigate in detail and give me the relevant information. Yes, mistress. Wei Feilong bowed respectfully and asked carefully, Mistress, why are you suddenly interested in this organization? This group of people seems to have bad intentions towards my husband. I want to talk to them. If they are obedient, then I will let it go. Zhao Xueqing smiled faintly and said, if they don't listen to my kind words and dare to play tricks again, I will kill them all. Lin Zhou, Tang family, Crouching Dragon Villa. Tang Linglong, who was wearing pajamas, had a broken face. There were dark circles under her eyes, and her delicate lips were cracked. She looked very haggard. Although Jiang Tian was responsible for the Great Mountain incident and she was not convicted, she had been dismissed from the army. In fact, Chao Shixiang cherished Tang Linglong very much. He knew that she was a rare talent and had been mediating for her for many days. However, the Condor team was too powerful. Many big shots and departments had joined forces to pressure them. Chao Shixiang's many protests were useless. He had no choice but to give them an explanation and appease the anger of the higher-ups. At the very least, she had to be shelved for a period of time. She could only be appointed after the situation calmed down. Master, could it be that he's already dead? However, when she saw the news on the dark web, her head buzzed, and she almost fainted. This can't be true. Master is like a god. How can he be dead? Tang Linglong could not believe it. She wiped her tears and scrolled the mouse, carefully reading the many discussions on the dark web. I caused Master's death. Gradually, she believed it. She felt like her heart was being cut by a knife. It was so painful that even breathing became difficult. Her pair of beautiful eyes seeped out large drops of tears, painfully clutching her chest, wailing loudly, tears falling like rain. I want to avenge Master. I want to destroy the Condor team. I want to destroy Beidasheng. I want to flatten the Japanese Cherry Blossom Society. Suddenly, she stood up, and her beautiful face suddenly became cold and solemn. She gnashed her teeth to the point they almost shattered, and a murderous aura surged from her body as she hurriedly rushed out of the door. At this moment, her heart was filled with pain, regret, and guilt, as if there were 100,000 steel knives stirring at the same time. If she had not been reckless and caused trouble, her master would not have to suffer for her. He would not have been schemed against by the Condor team and killed by the Japanese. Her master had taught her cultivation techniques and brought her, an ordinary person, on the path of cultivation. She had the power of a transcendent master and seen the picturesque landscape of the world. Their friendship was as deep as the ocean. But what about her? She was arrogant and willful. She wanted to die just because of a trivial matter between a man and a woman. She caused her master to die an unnatural death. I will never see Master again in this life. The meeting at the Ningbo naval base was a farewell. She could not let go of this regret and guilt. It made Tang Linglong suffer. In the end, it turned into a monstrous hatred. Only by destroying the Condor team and the Japanese Cherry Blossom Society could she be appeased. If you don't repay your master, you are worse than a beast. If you don't kill your enemies, you are not a man. Linglong, come back. What are you doing? At the door, Tang Guozhu leaned on his walking stick and scolded sternly. Grandpa. Master was killed. Tang Linglong was stunned at first. Then, she threw herself into her grandpa's arms and cried loudly. So, you want to avenge your master? Your cultivation is still too low. You are courting death. Tang Guozhu patted his granddaughter's shoulder lovingly and said earnestly. Grandpa, so be it. Master is already dead. I would rather die than live. If I die, I won't have to suffer like this anymore. Tang Linglong cried herself hoarse. She was out of breath and almost fainted. She was weak all over and finally collapsed to the ground. Linglong, tell me, your feelings for Jiang Tian are. Tang Guozhu was old and shrewd. He had already seen some clues. Grandpa, I love Master. I want to give my all, my best, to him. I want to love him, and pity him with everything I have. Tang Linglong's limbs spasmed and twitched. I know he has a wife, and Sister Qing'er is very, very good to me. It is immoral for me to have such feelings for Master. I am sorry for Sister Qing'er, but I can't control it. I can't control my love for Master. She wept like a helpless child, like a cuckoo weeping blood or a ziggurat wailing. Every word was heart-wrenching and depressing. If I can, I am willing to sacrifice 20 or 30 years of my life in exchange for being Master's lover. Even if it's for a day, even if it's for an hour, it will be enough. My poor child, I really wish you didn't know Jiang Tian back then. Tang Guozhu felt sorry for his granddaughter. He sat on the ground and hugged her, tears running down his face. No, I never regret knowing him. It's just fate. When I met him, he was already married and had Sister Qing'er. I regret not meeting him before marriage. Tang Linglong choked with tears. Chapter 4:15. Let the flowers bloom and wilt. Tang Guozhu was more than 80 years old after all. He had seen through many things clearly and earnestly said, don't worry. Life is not as smooth as you want. Linglong, you need to have an indifferent and tranquil state of mind. Everything is useless now. My master is dead. And I'm the one who killed him. Tang Linglong smiled sadly as tears rolled down her cheeks again. Despair engulfed her body and mind. There was nothing sadder than a dead heart. Her master was dead. Her heart was broken. He was dead. Tang Guozhu sighed and pondered for a long time before he said helplessly, Linglong, let me tell you the truth. Your master is not dead. How? How is that possible? There's news on the dark web. The Cherry Blossom Society even posted a picture of my master's body. Tang Linglong was dumbfounded. What does the picture look like? It's been burned to ashes. I can't see it clearly. That's your master's trick. Zhao Xueqing just called and told me the truth. Finally, Tang Guozhu told her what happened. I see, Tang Linglong nodded and smiled through her tears. I knew it. My master is so powerful. How could a few Japanese be his match? I'll go to Japan and help my master. No, don't go. Tang Guozhu frowned and said seriously, she told you not to feel guilty and not to blame yourself. You should work hard and don't forget your master's expectations of you. You are Jiang Tian's only disciple. But I want to fight side by side with my master. Besides, I've already retired. I'm completely free. Tang Linglong argued. You're only as powerful as a transcendent master. Are you a match for the immortal state overlords in Japan? Is there anything you can do? Tang Guozhu slammed his walking stick on the ground and said gently, Ling Long, do you know why Jiang Tian chose Xiao Xueqing? Why? Didn't they get married on a blind date? No one wanted my master back then. Tang Linglong said. Cough cough, Tang Guozhu awkwardly coughed, you can't be a vase if you want to be Kang Teichu's woman. What was Xiao Xueqing called herself now? In Hua Xia's martial arts world, she is known as the supreme beauty of the world. Grandpa, are you saying that if I become stronger, I will be worthy of my master? Tang Linglong asked. Yeah. Tang Guozhu was at his wit's end. He could only let her immerse herself in cultivation and calm her mind. Otherwise, if she went to Japan, who knew how much trouble she would bring to Jiang Tian? But, that Tanjun Dao Palace's palace master, Li Jinju, doesn't seem to be very powerful. Why does master also like her? Tang Linglong said. Tanjuan's lineage. The palace lord of the Dao Palace. The Tanyung Dao Palace is the symbol of South Korea's national spirit. At least in South Korea, it is equivalent to the long history of Hua Xia. How is that not powerful? Tang Guozhu said. Oh. Tang Linglong sat there, and her eyes became firm. So, master does not like Li Jinju for her looks. He likes her because she is strong enough. That's right. Only the strongest is worthy of master. As for me, I can only be a burden to him right now. Jiang Tian likes Li Jinju, what's going on? Suddenly, Tang Guozhu asked curiously. Don't worry about it, I'm going to cultivate. Tang Linglong excitedly rushed into the room and sat down cross-legged, holding her breath. She swore in her heart. Master, I want to surpass Sister Qing'er and Li Jinju. I want to become a strong person and be worthy of you. I want to be your woman. Even if I die, even if I go berserk, even if I have to go through hell, I will not be afraid. Take your time. Let master age slowly. Wait for me to break out of my cocoon and become a butterfly. After a few days of sailing. Finally, they arrived at Fukuoka Prefecture. This was one of the largest cities in Kyushu. It was also a port. It was also a famous industrial center in Japan. At this time, on a brightly lit wharf, Nomiya Shrine's high priest Anpei Yashihei led many kendo masters, onmyojis, ninjas, as well as Kyushu's famous tycoons and high-ranking officials. They gathered here. They raised their heads in anticipation, happily waiting for the triumphant return of Ishii Yulian and the other two masters. In addition, there were dozens of top researchers from Imperial University, Tokyo University, and Waseda University. There was even a Nobel Prize winner in biology. They formed a Human Evolution and Potential Research Group supported by the Mitsui Consortium. They planned to cut Jiang Tian's body into pieces and study it. The road next to the pier was filled with black Lexus and police cars, forming a long black line that stretched for several miles. It was an astonishing sight. Many Yamaguchi-gumi's Kyushu branch in black suits and Japanese police officers with loaded guns were maintaining order. They were strictly guarding the wharf. No one was allowed to come close. At this time, a long siren sounded. The Daytonia had docked. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Ishii Yuran led a dozen people to carry a body on a stretcher and walked quickly to the wharf. Lord Anpei, Nomiya Shrine played a big part in killing Kang Taechu. A president of the Mitsui group bowed respectfully to Ampere Yashihira, as if he was a believer in the presence of a god. Yeah, Nomiya Shrine is the guardian of Kyushu. I didn't expect them to kill Kang Taechu. The mayor of Fukuoka said with a smile. What's so great about Kang Taechu? He had just reached the immortal state. Hattori Hanzo was an immortal-level ninja and Nagaki Miyamoto was one of the top 5 kendo masters in Japan. They were equal to 2 immortal state warriors. Anpei Yashihei wore a black hat and a loose robe. His old face was full of arrogance and disdain. He sneered, let's not talk about Kang Taechu. In fact, the entire cultivation world of Huaxia is no match for Japan. They are just a bunch of ants. During the Yongjing period of the Qing dynasty, people were prohibited from carrying swords and fighting in the ring. Those who violated the law would be punished severely. Death in the ring would be treated as murder. After all this, Huaxia's martial arts had declined. That's why they were called the sick man of East Asia. After another 10 years of turmoil and the Four Olds movement, Huaxia's masters of sorcery were either killed or killed. Many precious books were burned to the ground, and the school of sorcery was cut off. There was no successor. On the other hand, our swordsmanship, ninjutsu, and yin-yang jutsu are flourishing. With this, we will catch up. Yes, the Sakura Kai and the 4 major shrines of Japan are our national beliefs. Ninjutsu, kendo, and yin-yang jutsu are our national treasures. The government has given us great support in terms of manpower and wealth. The mayor of Fukuoka said, because we understand that the weakness of the people will lead to the weakness of the nation and the country. You must know that a group of sheep without any fighting spirit and only know how to sing praises will not be able to resist the invasion of tigers and wolves. Whether it is in terms of ideology or physique, weakening the people is destroying yourself. Do you really think you have killed Kang Taechu? Suddenly, a cold voice was heard. 2 silhouettes shot out from the great East Asia like whistling arrows. What? This is Kang Taechu. Why isn't he dead? Many Japanese exclaimed. They shielded Abe Jipping and the other rich people as they took a few steps back. With a flash of cold light, Ishii Yurin pulled out her katana and scolded, "Kneel down and surrender, and I will spare your lives." Ishii Yurin, you dare to betray us? From now on, you are no longer the president. Kill her. The president of the Yamaguchi-gumi Kyushu branch, Hashimoto Takashi, pointed at Ishii Yurin and shouted in anger. Many members were dumbfounded. They couldn't understand the situation. Because they didn't know Jiang Tian. They also didn't know why Hashimoto Takashi suddenly announced this order. This was going against his superiors. Kill them. Ampere Jipping understood everything in just a few seconds. His white eyebrows trembled as he roared loudly. His order was effective. Because the major forces in Kyushu, such as Kendo Nitten Ryu, North Star One Blade School, Heiga Ryu ninjas, and Yamaguchi-gumi were all worshipped by Nomiya Shrine. As the Grand Priest of Nomiya Shrine, he could influence the selection and appointment of Yamaguchi-gumi. His words naturally carried weight. In an instant, more than 20 gunmen pulled out their pistols and pulled the trigger at Jiang Tian, Dugu Shao, and Ishii Yurin. Bullets poured out like rain. The gunmen's faces were ferocious. It was as if they wanted to turn Jiang Tian and the others into sieves. Bang! Jiang Tian opened his hand. Sogo of 10,000 gold performed the mystic art and controlled all the metal elements. Hundreds of bullets flew out at the same speed as the bullets. Puff, 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 puff. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, blood spurted out and dozens of people fell to the ground. All of them were shot into sieves and died a violent death. Some of them even had their heads and chests blown open. They died without a complete body. Suddenly, the remaining Yamaguchi-gumi members were scared out of their wits. They scattered in all directions. This man was like a demon. He was like a shikigami. How could he make the bullets fly out and kill people? Was he a human? A demon? Master Shao is here. Eat my blade. Eat my blade again. Dugu Shao screamed and jumped into the crowd with a katana in his hand. The katana danced in the air, cutting down and killing anyone in sight. His strength was comparable to a half-step immortal state warrior. His attack was 5 or 6 meters long and sharp. The blade chi was extremely condensed and sharp. It was far beyond the true chi of an ordinary martial artist. It could easily kill a kendo master. In an instant, it was a one-sided massacre. It was like a tiger entering a flock of sheep. Many East Asians fell into a pool of blood one after another. They were having a great time killing. Shao, don't worry about those bastards. Kill that old man. He is the grand priest of Nomiya Shrine. Jiang Tian pointed at Jiping, who was running away, and said coldly. Is that so? This old man has such a powerful background. Dugu Shao let out a strange laugh. His body was as strong as a dragon. He climbed up and rushed toward Jiping. Chapter 4:16. The Yin-Yang Masters were not even as powerful as Hua Xia's Dharma spell masters. Although they were not physically strong, Hua Xia's Dharma spell masters were able to protect themselves at the induction, entry level, and ethereal enlightenment levels. The Dharma spells of the Talisman sect, the Five Elements sect, the Spell sect, and the Heavenly Master sect of Dragon Tiger Mountain were especially powerful. Regardless of the sect, once a cultivator reached the Tao body level, they would have an immortal body and would be as powerful as an immortal state martial arts master. On the other hand, the Yin-Yang Masters relied on their Shikigami to attack and kill. They had very few means of self-defense. Looking at it this way, they were more like witchcraft or gu experts who could drive gods and spirits away. Similarly, they relied on external objects. After leaving the shrine and their spirit-branded retainers, they were no different from ordinary people who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. Therefore, the moment the battle broke out, Anpei Jiping fled in a panic under the protection of many Japanese masters, gang members, and police officers. His wooden clogs were long gone, and his high hat had fallen off. His hair was disheveled, and he looked like a beggar who had been chased away by the street. It was a pitiful sight. At the same time, hundreds of Japanese police officers rushed in from both sides. They were holding assault rifles and riot shields. They half knelt on the ground and aimed their assault rifles and sniper rifles at Jiang Tian and the others. The leader of the police officers even held a megaphone and shouted in broken Chinese, "You have been surrounded, please put down your weapons and surrender. Put down your weapons and surrender. Otherwise, we will kill you immediately. Damn, there are too many guns. I don't think I can handle them all." Dugu Shao frowned. Seeing that Anpei Jiping had been stuffed into an explosion-proof car and was about to escape, Jiang Tian also lost his patience. He suddenly waved his right hand, and with a boom, a container weighing more than a few tons suddenly flew out from the side. In the whistling sound of the wind, it crossed a distance of hundreds of meters and slammed down toward the police officers. Oh my God! Many police officers were dumbfounded and horrified. They only had time to let out a cry of surprise before they were completely covered by the container and smashed into meat paste. None of them were able to escape. Streams of blood flowed out from the bottom of the container, like a stream of spring water, scarlet and glaring. Seeing this, Ishii Yulian was stunned. This is too amazing. I'm afraid it weighs 10 tons. Master is like a god. Wow, Brother Chu, you're so overbearing. Gudu Shao was so excited that he was jumping up and down. Relying on your Dao Qi to control a 10-ton chest, this little brother's admiration for you is like the endless torrential river, like the overflowing yellow river that cannot be stopped. He had seen Hoshi's, the deer and the cauldron, on the ship and copied Dolong's lines. In fact, he had overestimated Jiang Tian's power. With Jiang Tian's current cultivation, if he didn't use any secret techniques, he wouldn't be able to move anything that weighed 10,000 pounds with just his Jin Yuan or pure physical strength. However, once he used the 1,000 gold swordsman's secret technique, it was completely different. He could control all metals with ease, as if he was using his own arm. That's enough, stop talking nonsense. I want to kill Anpei Jiping. Do as you see fit. Jiang Tian stepped on his flying sword and chased after Anpei Jiping, who was already in a car. Damn, Brother Novice has a flying sword. Dugu Shao chased after Jiang Tian while shouting, Brother Novice, you are amazing. According to Master, no one in the hidden sect has successfully made a flying sword for 200 years. Anpei Jipping was sitting in a speeding explosion-proof car. He was escaping from the Yamaguchi shrine. There were more than 10 police cars and Yamaguchi-gumi vehicles guarding him. There is a flying person in the sky. It's that Huaxia demon. My god, he can fly. Suddenly, someone noticed Jiang Tian who was chasing after them in the air, and he immediately cried out in panic. Tens of meters in the air, Jiang Tian flew as fast as lightning. His speed was incomparably fast. How was he human? He was like a Superman. Fire! Fire the rocket launchers! The sunroofs of the 3 cars were opened. Several Japanese people set up 3 shoulder-mounted RPGs and fired at Jiang Tian. The others also smashed the car window with their guns and aimed at Jiang Tian. They pulled the trigger all the way to the end and fired bullets at Jiang Tian as if they were free. Did you bring a rocket launcher? Anpei Jipping wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and looked at Jiang Tian through the glass window. Yes, although the police didn't have one, we Yamaguchi-gumi did. I didn't expect to use it. Hashimoto Takashi said. That's good. Even a divine realm expert can't withstand continuous fire from a rocket launcher. Kill him. Anpei Jipping said fiercely. In addition, the police helicopter is also dispatched. We need to use heavy weapons to deal with this demon. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. 3 rockets were shot at Jiang Tian with wisps of white smoke and a sharp whistling sound. These rockets belonged to the RPG-7 generation. They were individual anti-tank weapons and were often called recoilless guns. The grenade cover had a diameter of 93 mm and could penetrate 600 mm of armor plate. When the grenade head hit the target, under the pressure of the inner wall, the grenade's electronic program fuse generated enough voltage to ignite the detonator at the back of the projectile, igniting the explosive charge and producing a powerful hot air flow. The hot air flow broke through the armor plate and entered the car with a powerful force and violently expanded, causing a second explosion. The copper grenade cover was shattered into finger-sized and teardrop-sized molten liquid in the explosion. It was like a solid warhead that had a great destructive effect. Even a tank would be blown to pieces. The initial flight speed was also very terrifying. The initial flight speed was 176.8 meters per second. After flying for 10 m, the propellant engine ignited and the speed increased to 294 meters per second. Humph. You think you can kill me? Jiang Tian stepped on his flying sword and sneered. The black iron flying shuttle brought up a dazzling black light as it broke through the air. How terrifying was Jiang Tian's strength. Moreover, the black iron shuttle also had an acceleration array. Its speed was enough to break through the speed of sound. The black iron shuttle brought out a shrill sonic boom that resounded through the world. It was like a cruise missile that drew out a white turbulence in the air. It was like a rainbow that pierced through the sun. In the blink of an eye, it accurately shot a rocket. With a thunderous explosion, the copper explosive cover crumbled like paper. The lightning and the explosive exploded together, and a huge red flower with a radius of 10 meters bloomed in the air. The boiling hot liquid flew in the air, and the buildings on both sides of the road trembled violently. The glass windows were shattered, and a few pieces of the walls collapsed. The remaining 2 rockets were also shot at Jiang Tian, only a few hundred meters away from Jiang Tian. Break! Break! Jiang Tian stepped on the little black flying sword and raised his eyebrows. He shouted and activated his divine sense. The black iron shuttle that was floating in the air shot out 2 more times. Boom! Boom! 2 beautiful fireballs exploded in the air. One of them was close to the ground. Instantly, a few cars that were parked on the road were lifted into the air and fell heavily on the ground, turning into a few twisted iron lumps. How is this possible? Oh my god, is he still human? What weapon is he using? It's so powerful and so accurate. It can actually intercept the rocket. Many Japanese were dumbfounded. They were like clay sculptures and even forgot to shoot or load the rockets. Damn, Brother Novice is really awesome. What kind of magic weapon is that? It can even intercept the rockets. Dugu Xiao was completely convinced. He originally thought that Jiang Tian was an expert from the secular world. No matter how strong he would only be on par with him. After all, he was an expert from Langyi Academy who had countless cultivation resources. The cultivation resources of the secular world could not be compared to the Yin sect. But now, he realized that Jiang Tian's strength was definitely far beyond his own. He might even be on par with his master. Run! Run! Ampere Jipping was shocked and regretful. He should not have left Nomiya Shrine. Now, he was being chased around. Before this, many Japanese thought that they could kill Jiang Tian with their rockets. So, they slowed down a little. Of course, they also thought that the lower the speed, the higher the accuracy of their shots. But now, they were like rabbits being chased by a pack of wolves. They sped up to the limit and ran for their lives. Whoosh! Under the control of Jiang Tian's divine sense, the black iron shuttle drew a beautiful arc in the air. With a clang, it easily pierced through the special steel plate on the explosion-proof car roof. The bulletproof glass, which was harder than steel, shattered like paper. Whoosh! After the black iron shuttle smashed the driver's body from top to bottom, it did not slow down. It pierced through the chassis of the explosion-proof car and stabbed into the asphalt road. Like an iron nail, it firmly nailed the explosion-proof car to the road. The tail of the shuttle was sticking out of the car roof and was still trembling. Ampere Jipping was so scared that his face turned pale. He hurriedly opened the car door. Under the protection of several Japanese experts, he hurriedly ran into an alley, trying to escape Jiang Tian's pursuit. All right, stop running. Suddenly, with an incomparably majestic shout, a figure blocked their way. It was Jiang Tian. Kang Te-chu, if I was in the shrine, with the help of my Shikigami, you would never be my opponent. Ampere Jipping roared unwillingly. Unfortunately, I won't give you that chance. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently and stretched out his hand. A tremendous attractive force pulled Enpeiji over. Jiang Tian grabbed Enpeiji's neck with one hand and pulled out a green bamboo flute from Enpeiji's waist with the other hand. This was the Dharma artifact he used to control his Shikigami, the soul guiding flute. You can go to hell now. The next moment, Jiang Tian twisted his hand. With a crisp crack, blood spurted out as Ampere Jipping's neck was crushed into pieces. Ampere Jipping's head tilted to one side as he fell to the ground, dead. One of the 4 Japanese Onmyojis, the Grand Priest of Nomiya Shrine, Ampere Jipping, was dead. Master Kong, please spare our lives. Seeing this scene, the other Japanese experts were so scared that they prostrated themselves on the ground and begged for mercy. Jiang Tian dared to kill Ampere Jipping. This was too domineering. How could they not be afraid? At this time, Ishii Yulian and Dugu Xiao had caught up. Jiang Tian asked calmly, who has the highest status? The mayor of Fukuoka, and the vice president of Mitsui Corporation, Mitsui Sho. Ishii Yulian pulled the 2 out. Ah Xiao, kill the rest. Jiang Tian said coldly. It's great to work for a novice. Dugu Xiao laughed strangely and didn't give the others any time to react. His katana swept across the ground like mercury. In an instant, blood spurted out and screams were heard. A dozen people fell to the ground, dead. Not a single one was left alive. Let's go. Jiang Tian didn't bother to look at the corpses. He left after saying that. Chapter 417. That night, Jiang Tian and Dugu Xiao stayed in Ishii Imperial Lotus's mansion called Shimizu at the foot of Mount Fuji. Wow, this chandelier is so shiny, it's blinding my eyes. Dugu Xiao was stunned by the luxurious decoration as soon as he entered the house. The pure oak floor was spotless and shiny. The Persian cashmere carpet made one feel as if they were stepping on clouds. The LCD plasma TV took up more than half of the background wall. The leather sofa was handmade by an Italian craftsman. Priceless antique paintings hung on the wall, and there was a charming sandalwood scent in the air. TSK, this bathtub can be used as a swimming pool. This bed is heart-shaped. It's so romantic. Ha, is this a massage chair? Interesting, it can move on its own. Sister Lien is really good at enjoying life. Dugu Xiao was like a country bumpkin, jumping around excitedly, touching here and there, looking at all the rooms. He would definitely try out anything new that he came across. This sofa is so bouncy. Finally, he sat down on the leather sofa, stretched his waist, and was overjoyed. Bro, why are you so calm? Dugu Xiao looked at the expressionless Jiang Tian and asked, your family is very rich, right? Anyway, I have a lot of these kinds of villas. Jiang Tian smiled faintly, too lazy to explain. If I go down the mountain early, I would have bought a few already. Dugu Xiao rolled his eyes, picked up the remote control, turned on the TV, found a Chinese channel, and watched it with great interest. Mr. Jiang, what should we do next? Ishii Imperial Lotus asked solemnly while making tea for the two. With this soul-guiding flute, we should be able to summon the 3 Shikigami of Nomiya Shrine, right? Jiang Tian stroked the green flute and smiled faintly. Of course, but you must be a grand priest. If you don't worship them, they won't listen to your orders. They might even fight with you. Ishii Imperial Lotus's face turned pale, and his hands trembled. He looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. Master Kong, what are you trying to do? Since we already have the soul-guiding flute, they won't be able to control the Shikigami. In that case, we should avoid them and go directly to Momoi Aitaro or Miyamoto Geniki, instead of the Shikigami. Jiang Tian said indifferently, my physical body is already very strong now, but my spiritual power is relatively lagging behind. I want to absorb and refine those 3 Shikigami to strengthen my spiritual power. At that time, my spiritual power will condense into a blade that can cut through steel and annihilate divine souls. That will be the true power of my words, the true power of my words. On the path of cultivation, one's physical body, cultivation methods, spirit, and magical artifacts were indispensable. It was best to advance in these aspects simultaneously. Otherwise, the one that lagged behind would form shackles and restrictions on the overall combat strength. Now that Jiang Tian had cultivated the gunmetal divine body, his physical body was incomparably strong, but his consciousness was relatively weak. In the eyes of others, the 3 Shikigami of Nomiya Shrine had gathered the power of faith of millions of believers for decades. Their mental strength was extremely powerful and terrifying. But in the eyes of Jiang Tian, these 3 Shikigami were rare resources for cultivation. They were incomparably delicious to strengthen one's consciousness. What? Absorb and refine the Shikigami? How is this possible? Ishii Imperial Lotus was tongue-tied. He couldn't believe it. It was as if he was listening to a heavenly book. I have more than 10 million cultivation methods to cultivate my mental strength. I have my own way. Let's rest for a night and go to Nomiya Shrine tomorrow. Jiang Tian sipped his tea and stood up. He glanced at Dugu Xiao and said, Dugu Xiao, aren't you going to rest? No, I want to watch TV. Go to sleep. Ha, this is so interesting. Dugu Xiao stared at the TV and waved his hand. He was amused by the retarded variety show and laughed like an idiot. Before he went down the mountain, the most advanced modern appliance he had seen in the past 18 years was the flashlight. Now that he saw such a big TV, it was colorful, bright, and high definition, how could he still walk? He planned to stay up all night and focus on watching TV. He had to satisfy his craving. Too lazy to pay attention to the horrified Ishii Imperial Lotus, Jiang Tian went back to his room and sat down on the leather sofa. His eyes shot out beams of light. He stroked the soul-guiding flute and sighed. This is not an ordinary awakening Dharma artifact. It is made of soul-guiding bamboo. It can swallow, refine, and control all mental strength. Soul-guiding bamboo, also known as Empyrean bamboo, was a rare material even in the cultivation realm. This kind of bamboo could naturally absorb mental strength. Ghost generals, ghost kings, ghost emperors, and even the divine souls of the great sage would have to avoid it. If they were not careful, they would be swallowed by this bamboo. But the Ampere family had made it into a Dharma artifact to awaken the Shikigami. It was a complete waste. Maybe these Shikigami found out that Ampere Jipping didn't know how to use soul-guiding bamboo, so they wouldn't be swallowed if they stayed away. I can't waste it. Let me draw some runes and make it into a real soul-swallowing flute. Jiang Tian thought for a while and his eyes lit up. He immediately formed a Gungjin Qi weapon and carefully drew it on the flute. Kang Teichu is not dead. High Priest Ampere Jipping was killed by Kang Teichu. Mitsui Sho and the mayor of Fukuoka were captured alive. The news spread like a hurricane across the entire Japanese cultivation realm. Many kendo experts, ninjas, and onmyojis were alarmed. The news then spread to the upper echelons of the Sakura Kai and spread to the entire East Asia. There were hundreds of people present at the battle on the pier of Fukuoka. Although Jiang Tian and Dugu Shao killed almost 200 people, there were still some witnesses who managed to escape. Moreover, Jiang Tian chased after Ampere Jipping in the downtown area. There were many surveillance cameras and witnesses, and they had taken videos. This news could not be hidden at all. Kang Teichu is too powerful and cunning. He killed Hattori Hanzo, Nagaki Miyamoto, and even Ishii Yurin. He purposely lured Lord Ampere Jipping away from the Nomiya shrine to the pier of Fukuoka. He couldn't even use 1/10 of his power. He could only be killed. Some experts analyzed the details and gritted their teeth. They hated Kang Teichu to the core. Yeah, Kang Teichu is too despicable. He pretended to be dead. Now that the Japanese government has made a statement and Huaxia has washed their hands of responsibility, it's impossible to suppress Kang Teichu through Huaxia. Some tycoons were trembling with anger. That's right, the Prime Minister has already made a statement. If he goes back on his words, where is the dignity of the country? Our international reputation will be greatly damaged. Some politicians were so depressed that they vomited blood. So now it can only be a matter between Japan and Kang Teichu. Huaxia has already completed their mission. Someone analyzed. Ishii Yurin should be killed. She must have revealed High Priest Ampere's weakness. That's why she was killed by Kang Teichu in one blow. If Kang Teichu was lured into the Nomiya shrine, how could he be a match for those powerful Shikigami? Some people cursed indignantly. They wanted to chop Kang Teichu and Ishii Yurin into pieces and feed them to the dogs. What do we do now? Nomiya shrine has been completely annihilated. Who else can suppress Kang Teichu? As soon as this voice came out, many people who were paying attention to the situation were surprised. Although Jiang Taichu was very cunning and sinister, there were too many experts who had died in Jiang Taichu's hands. His strength could be seen at a glance. Inside the Tanjun Dojo, Grand Yin Yang Master Ampere Clear Sky was one of the top 10 Grand Yin Yang Masters in Japan with the power of the new Shinigami Ingo. Miyamoto Takeo was a Nitin first-rate Kendo Master and was one of the top 10 Kendo Masters in Japan. Yagyu Masahiro was a high-level ninja of the Heiga Ryu. He could control the earth element ninja and turn it into an attack. However, all three of them were easily killed by Kang Teichu. Ingo was even stomped into a pulp by Kang Teichu. On the Great East Asia, Nagaru Miyamoto was the master of the Nitin first-rate Kendo Master and one of the top 5 Kendo Masters in Japan. Hattori Hanzo was the master of the Heiga ninja sect and an immortal-level ninja. He could use the wind as a blade and his shield of ninja could withstand heavy machine gun fire. Ishii Yurin was the current leader of the Yamaguchi Gumi. He was proficient in ninjutsu, kendo, and Yin-Yang Jutsu. He was also half a step away from the immortal level. However, he was no match for Kang Tae-chu. Moreover, there were even more shocking details. Jiang Tai-chu had already consumed the heart-scorching tea of 5 poisons and was bound by the dragon-snaring lasso on the Great East Asia, but he still managed to break free easily. One had to know that the dragon-snaring lasso was a Dharma artifact left behind by Jiang Xia, Abe Saimai of Japan. On the mangrove pier in Fukuoka, Anpei Jipping was killed again. It could be said that the entire Kyushu Island's cultivation community had suffered heavy losses. More than half of their experts had been lost, and the island had become unstoppable. This was a huge loss that the Dongyang people could not accept. Meanwhile, in a quiet room in the Nomiya Shrine, many senior government officials, tycoons, and powerful cultivators had gathered. They had gathered here to celebrate the death of Kang Tae-chu. Red lanterns were hung high in the air, food and drinks were served, and even a traditional dance performance was prepared. Everyone was waiting for the good news. However, at this moment, they felt like they had been slapped in the face countless times. Their faces were filled with humiliation and anger. There were even more people who were uneasy and terrified. A kendo master couldn't stand the oppressive atmosphere and shouted, "Where is Kang Tae-chu now? Did he run away?" He didn't run away. A police officer sent by the Metropolitan Police Department said with a serious face. According to our surveillance system, he is now living in Ishii Yurin's secret villa at the foot of Mount Fuji. Then what are we waiting for? All of us Kyushu Island's experts will go together and chop him into pieces. The kendo master said angrily. Also, we can send the police and the army to kill him with cannons. I don't believe that he can withstand it. He disregarded the power of Japan and killed our powerful cultivators. We can't let him do whatever he wants. No. He has captured the mayor of Fukuoka and an important member of the Mitsui family. The police officer from the Metropolitan Police Department said. Chapter 418. By then, the Grand Divine Priest Anpei Yashihei was already dead. His younger brother, the Deputy Divine Priest Anpei Masaru, was now in charge of the situation. Weapons of mass destruction are useless. We can only rely on the cultivation world. Feeling great psychological pressure, he said with a solemn face, "But he has already killed my elder brother and taken away the soul-guiding flute. Even the 3 Shikigami can't use it. Now, I'm afraid that we are no match for Jiang Tai-chu." What? The soul-guiding flute has been taken away. What does he want to do with it? Does he want to control the Shikigami? Someone exclaimed. That's impossible. Anpei Masaru was in his 60s. He was one of the top 10 onmyojis in Japan and his onmyojis had reached the peak. Hearing the question, he shook his head and said, "The soul-guiding flute can only awaken the Shikigami, but it can only be used by the Anpei family to control and activate the Shikigami. He took away the soul-guiding flute so that we can't awaken and activate the Shikigami. His idea is despicable and shameless, but he succeeded. Without the soul-guiding flute, we can't activate the Shikigami. What should we do?" Many overlords, officials, and tycoons in Kyushu frowned and were at a loss of what to do. The leaders of the Sakura Society have already learned about this. We are on our way to help. While everyone was at a loss of what to do, a faint voice came from afar. A man in a white kendo outfit walked in slowly. This man looked to be in his 40s. His eyebrows were sharp, his skin was fair, his nose was straight, his lips were red, and his teeth were white. His long hair reached his shoulders, and he wore wooden clogs on his bare feet. But it just so happened that his figure was tall and straight like a sword, exuding a heroic aura, and he gave others a feeling of elegance, and restrained edge. As soon as the man in the white kendo outfit appeared, Anpei Masaru stood up and said respectfully, "Mr. Momoi Rutaru, what brings you here?" This man was the current leader of the Japanese Kendo School, the leader of the Japanese Kendo Grandmaster, the former number 4 on the dark roll, and the current president of the Sakura Society, Momoi Rutaru. In fact, he was already 70 years old, but his sword Dao was so heaven-defying that he actually showed signs of rejuvenation. At the same time, he was also one of the 3 sages of East Asia who had been conferred the title of Sword Sage by the emperor. In terms of swordsmanship, his strength was second only to the old sword god Palace's origin. Mirror Heart Wise School was a kendo school on par with Nitin Ryu and Beichun One-Blade School. In the world of Japanese kendo, there were sayings such as, Thousand Leaves of Technique, Palace of Strength, and Peach Well of Position. In other words, the Chiba family of the North Star One-Blade School relied on techniques, the Nitin Ichiryu relied on surging strength, and the Mirror Heart Wise School relied on sword momentum. The posture was very beautiful, and it had already become an art of killing. But actually, in terms of practicality, the Mirror Heart Wise School was actually far ahead of the other 2 schools. It was just that the posture was too beautiful, forming a unique characteristic. 20 years ago, Rutaru Momoi, who was only 20 years old, challenged many kendo schools and won every battle. He was able to suppress Nagaki Miyamoto and many other Ryu masters and was known as the most promising person to replace Genichi Miyamoto. 10 years ago, Wang Zhongyan of the Xingzhou Chinese Association tried to reach Japan and defeated many Japanese masters. In the end, Rutaru Momoi defeated Wang Zhongyan with 1 sword on Mount Fuji. Wang Zhongyan returned in defeat and limited his power to Southeast Asia. It was also after that battle that Rutaru Momoi was conferred the title of Sword Sage by the Emperor of Japan. His position in the world of kendo was second only to origin of Sword God Palace. And when Rutaru Momoi entered, many figures entered one after another. Abe Masaru's expression became more and more shocked. Kamo Yunwen, Sasaki Kaisha, Akaji Shin. Kamo Yunwen was the head of the Kamo family. He was also the grand priest of the Kamo shrine, the most symbolic and important shrine in Japan. Moreover, the Kamo family and the Abe family had a deep relationship. The ancestor of the Kamo family, Kamo Tadayuki, was Abe Saimai's master. If Abe Saimai, the ancestor of the Abe family, who was known as Jiang Zia of Japan, was the master of Japanese yin-yang technique and had carried it forward, then Kamo Tadayuki was the true origin of yin-yang technique. Therefore, the yin-yang technique of the Kamo family was more ancient and purer. It was a top-secret art passed down from the Edo period. Sasaki Kaisha was the descendant of Sasaki Kojiro, the great swordsman who was as famous as Miyamoto Musashi in Japanese kendo. She was also the only female kendo grand teacher in Japan. Some people compared her to first Madame Gongsun of the Tang dynasty in Huaxia. Akaji Shin was an S-level arcanist. He was born with the ability to control wood energy and activate plants to form attacks. At the same time, he was also an immortal-level ninja. Behind them were ninjas, yin-yang masters, and kendo masters from various families and sects, as well as arcanists secretly supported by the Japan Self-Defense Forces. There were more than a dozen of them. It could be said that more than half of Japan's Grand Masters and Immortal State Masters had gathered in this quiet room. These overlords were usually distributed in Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, Hokkaido, Shikoku and other places. Each and every one of them was an existence that could suppress an entire region. They could make the tycoons lower their heads and earn the respect of high-ranking government officials. Now, all of them had come to the Nomiya Shrine to deal with Jiang Taichu alone. Are you all going to help Nomiya Shrine by defeating Kang Taichu? What do you think of the Sakura Kaisha Peak? After Abe Masaru and the other overlords sat down, they immediately bowed and asked anxiously. Kang Taichu is a real immortal state warrior. Momoi Rutaru sipped his tea and said, although the grand teacher of Japanese kendo, immortal-level ninja and grand onmyoji are said to be as powerful as immortal state warriors, they are not real immortal state warriors. A solemn look flashed across his handsome face. Even if we all attack together, we are not sure that we can defeat Kang Taichu. We can only deal 1,000 damage to the enemy and 800 damage to ourselves. Kang Taichu is so powerful. A real immortal state warrior. Is he more powerful than the grand teacher of kendo and immortal ninja? Yes, The Grand Teacher of Kendo, Immortal Ninja and Onmyoji are not real immortal state warriors? Hearing this, all the overlords on Kyushu, especially the members of Nomiya Shrine, were stunned. A real immortal state warrior can withstand artillery shells with his body, and his soul energy is so powerful that he can interfere with reality and speak the truth. May I ask, which one of you here can achieve that? Everyone was stunned by Momoi Ruteru's words. A deadly silence fell over the room. Then what should we do? Are we going to let him wreak havoc on Kyushu? This man is very ambitious. After taking down Nomiya Shrine, he might be able to conquer the entire Japan. The next moment, many overlords on Kyushu were anxious, especially Abe Masaru. He was so anxious that cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Yes, we can't wait for such a bloodthirsty madman. We have to take the initiative to attack. Lord Momoi. Lord Momoi, everyone, the descendants of the Yamato people are a family. You can't just stand by and watch. The dignity of the Cherry Blossom Society is not to be offended. Momoi Ruteru smiled calmly and said, Lord Momoi Ruteru, we are not here for nothing. First of all, we hope that the members of the Miyamoto family will go to Tokyo with us and ask the Sword God to help us. What? Ask the Sword God to help us. He is already 150 years old. In his seat, Miyamoto Shinsan was startled and cried out. The Sword God, was the patriarch of the Miyamoto family 2 generations ago. He was also the 3rd patriarch of Nichiren Ryu and his great-grandfather. He had been living in seclusion on a hill in the suburbs of Tokyo for many years and had controlled the Cherry Blossom Society from afar. He was a real immortal state warrior. Of course, he could crush Kang Tae-chu, but if he failed, it would be a great blow to Japan. As the honorary president of the Cherry Blossom Society, he was the symbol of the spirit of Japan, second only to the emperor. As soon as Miyamoto Shinzo said this, he saw Momoi Ruteru, Aoki King, Sasaki Haisha, and other experts bowing to him. He knew that this was the common opinion of the Sakura Society's upper echelons, and he had no power to change it. Okay, I will go and meet my grandfather now. Seeing this, Miyamoto Shinzo could only nod and agree. Then, Momoi Ruteru's eyes became serious. He glanced at the overlords of the Miyamoto Shrine and said, Second of all, Kamo Yunwen is controlling the 3 Shikigami of the Nozomiya Shrine. I and many other overlords will help to protect them. Lord Momoi, the soul guiding flute has been lost. Can Kamo Yunwen control the 3 Shikigami? Hearing this, Abe Zorong's face suddenly turned ashen, and he screamed, feeling very unwilling. Shikigami were the biggest reliance of the Onmyoji family. Kamo Yunwen was controlling the 3 Shikigami of the Nozomiya Shrine. Next, he would have to give up the position of Grand Priest and hand over the Nozomiya Shrine to Kamo Yunwen. Then, the Abe family would become a second-rate family. Don't worry, Lord Momoi. I have my own way. Kamo Yunwen smiled coldly. The Kamo family was the origin of Japanese Onmyoji. Abe Saimai had also learned Onmyoji from the Kamo family. However, in the eyes of the Japanese, the Abe family was even more powerful than the Kamo family. This time, Abe Shinzo's death had given him a chance to take control of the Nozomiya Shrine. If Kang Tae-chu dared to offend the Nozomiya Shrine, he would step on Kang Tae-chu's corpse to establish his authority and become the #1 Onmyoji family in Japan. I have received a secret report. Kang Tae-chu's next stop is Nozomiya Shrine. Momoi Ruteru said. The entire place was deathly silent. Everyone's faces were filled with fear and shock. It was a sleepless night. Many overlords and overlords of the Japanese cultivation world were heading to Kyushu to gather at the Nozomiya Shrine. They were discussing and plotting secretly. Undercurrents were surging, and there were many arrangements. However, the cycle of the sun and the moon continued. A few hours passed in a blink of an eye. The sun rose from the horizon and shone down 1,000 rays of golden light. On Kyushu Island, halfway up Tori Mountain, on the mountain path leading to Nomiya Shrine, there was a wide platform with lush greenery. The scenery was pleasant. Sword dispelling platform. Everyone had to remove their katanas and weapons on the platform before they could continue up the mountain to worship at the Nozomiya shrine. Otherwise, they would be killed without mercy. On the sword dispelling platform, Sword Sage Momoi Rutaru, Sasaki Aisha, and Lord Akaji stood upright like unsheathed swords and looked down at the foot of the mountain. A large number of Japanese overlords stood in the forest and on the rocks to watch the battle. They wanted to see how powerful Kang Taechu was. Sword Sage, will Kang Taechu really come here? Sasaki Aisha frowned and asked seriously, you're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.